everybody wanted to be the next Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is probably the worst thing that ever happened to fantasy, not only because it justifies not finishing your book series, but also because then everybody wanted to do it and clone it, even with properties that did not share any kind of genetics. Like Wheel of Time and Game of Thrones have a little bit of magic and they have a medieval setting, and that's pretty much where the similarities stop. There shouldn't be as much boinking as there was in the third season of Wheel of Time, but apparently that's what everybody likes. So there you go. I'm just so pleased, so happy, so cynically, gleefully joyful that this piece of shit got canceled. And that Rafe Judkins will be known as a complete failure who does not understand human beings, and his homoerotic fanfic was a total crash and burn. And I think that's wonderful for all of us. You love to see it.
So for normies, just give us the breakdown of what the show originally was and then how it got bastardized and co-opted.
Originally, the book series is really it's a sprawling epic fantasy. So it's big. It's a 14-book series. It is very large. It's big, good versus evil. It's very Tolkien inspired. Like it opens up with a boy in a faraway secluded town, and then evil people in black robes that their faces are hidden. It's very, very Lord of the Rings, and then it goes off in its own direction. And it's really it's a big exploration of like gender issues, a lot of it, and not in the modern weird way that people take that, but just the dynamic of men and women and how they approach things and how they solve problems and how they think and process. And the magic system is gendered itself, so the men use the magic in one way, the women use the magic in the other. And the big theme is that when they work together, they do their best, but the world is fractured and they don't work together, and they view each other as opponents all the time. And so that's why the world is in such a shitty state. And there's lots of inspiring moments. There's lots of really interesting things for both men and women. Really, really a lot of true things that we all wrestle with. And that's my big thing, is that Robert Jordan really knew people. He understood real human beings, not Twitter avatars, not Tumblr posts. It was very clear that he knew people, and he had met a lot of people, and he understood them very, very well, not how he wanted them to be. And he portrayed them very realistically and very relatably. And the show's a piece of shit. I guess it doesn't do any of that at all.
Well, where did they go wrong? Because it sounds like they could explore gender dynamics in a way that would be, really exciting for everyone in a fantasy setting. So how do they co-opt it and malign it?
Well, first of all, they didn't like the gender cooperation thing. I mean, it fell into a classic trap of your Mary Sue characters. The showrunner, his favorite character was one of the girls, and so he wanted her front and center, even when it didn't make any sense. And they tried to inject a mystery, like a mystery box thing of there's going to be a prophecy of a powerful mythic person that's going to be reborn, and it has to be a man because the magic system is a male-female thing. But the whole first season was who is this person? Could be a man or a woman, and it really drained the show. The relationships are very rushed. They're not very genuine. They're all based around screwing most of the time. Everybody's screwing. It's very sanitized. It's very sanitized fantasy that doesn't want to lean into the realities of the way men and women behave around each other and around themselves. It doesn't want to explore those relationships. It wants to be very surface level, very Tumblr, Twitter kind of conversations and dialogue. And it's very empty, and contains none of the inspiring or engaging characters and relationships that the books have.
There was a time, I remember when, as a little bit for the stream, I just put up 10 still shot images from fantasy shows, and you guys had to guess which one it was from, because it was like 7 or 8 in circulation at one stage. There's Blood Origin and all this kind of sloppy fantasy crap going around, but it seems to have kind of ebbed and died away now.
It's been a real gold rush. I think a lot of it is because epic fantasies are really their character dramas at their heart. I mean, there's magic and there's, usually, The Witcher has cool creatures and he's got magic stuff, and there's obviously a fantasy element, but almost all of them, the epic ones, the big Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, that kind of thing, they're character dramas. They have to have people that you want to watch, that you care about. Either you want to hate them or you want to love them, or you relate to their struggle or something. And these all contain very two-dimensional, flat caricatures, not characters. And they all fall into this weird diversity trap where most of your fantasy is in a medieval setting. And so the world ought to be very segmented, because The travel is very restricted. It's very it gives the world depth and scope, but they want to do this diversity utopia casting thing, and so every place feels the same as the other place. All the characters feel the same as other characters. It's just very watered down, and they're all like that. Rings of Power, obviously, we all hated that one.
Yep.
The Witcher was that way toward the end. Blood Origins was especially that way. Wheel of Time was that way. Even at the end, I'm told, I haven't watched it myself, I'm told Game of Thrones kind of went that direction once they ran out of book to follow.
Yeah, even House of the Dragon looks lush and beautiful, but narratively it just completely petered out.
House of the Dragon, like season 1, they had one black family sort of faction, and they did it very realistically. But in season 2, I was really noticing they were beginning to just have black people everywhere, without any real explanation of why this family had sent their family members to all sorts of branches, and it was beginning to look a little bit more. It was nowhere near the levels of sort of forced diversity of Rings of Power, but it was kind of getting there. And House of Dragon season 2 was shit anyway. That wasn't the reason why. It was just because of the horrible pacing and the slowness of it, and the refusal to pay off the build up, and some of the character decisions. Yeah, I'm done basically with fantasy and with the Game of Thrones franchise. I don't think it can come back after that shite second season with House of Dragon.
Yeah, it's weird seeing Paddy Considine, as this old patriarch in that show, and then seeing him as like this kind of diffident son of a mob boss in Mobland. It's a strange change. But yeah, I don't know. Fantasy, it kind of feels like it's run its course now, like as a kind of adjunct or footnote to the wider MCU fantasy thing. Fantasy in general feels kind of a little bit passé.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And it's very expensive, and so these failures are not. It's going to be a long time for anyone who tries to dip their toe into it again, because they're costly to make. You really gotta build these things up from the ground. It's tough.
And the problem is, if you have a really high quality one with its set design and costumes, then it makes everything else look. Mid fantasy looks terrible now, and after Andor with its lush, design and budget, other Star Wars, apart from the big films, is going to look terrible in mid as well. I guess it's just a consequence. Well, so that's Wheel of Time coming to a whimper. And speaking of which, Doctor Who leaves, and he's so beautiful, as told by his former regeneration. He's so gorgeous. He's the best Doctor, the best male Doctor, whereas Jodie Whittaker is the best female Doctor, and they get to indulge each other and delight in each other's company at the end of an episode. Then he steps out of the TARDIS in a kind of gold shimmering haze, which looks like a Ferrero Rocher commercial, and says how much of a joy it's been destroying this franchise. At one point, it had one episode which only had 1.5 million views, which is astonishing. Like, desperate and random, you've had multiple videos that have more than 1.5 million views, right? So that's crazy.
I think I've had just one, but
just the one.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's surprising. That was very low, 1.5 million. So maybe a little surprising that it got that low, but not really. I knew season 2. I was exactly right, by the way. I predicted this. I predicted that in season 2 they were just going to go scorched earth. They were going to go all in on identity politics, and their attitude was going to be, well, if we can't have it, no one can, and they're just going to burn it to the ground. And that is exactly what they did, and no one cared because no one was watching.
Yeah, I did the research on the 4 new writers they brought in for the season. All gay, all queer. One of them had written a novel about the gay Mardi Gras parades in Australia. Another one famously wrote that this book is gay, which is banned in a lot of states for being too overt in its content. And 2 others. So they went with that. So like that and the showrunner and the Doctor. So 6 out of 6. So that's pretty much a statement where this is just the direction we're going. So I don't know. Can Doctor Who revive itself? It just feels so botched, so run into the ground that I don't think it can. It feels just like the magic is gone. Like even if they came in with a fantastic Doctor, I think people are just so jaded and spent that I just don't think they'd buy into it because the residue psychologically would still be there.
I know very little about Doctor Who, but I do feel like Doctor Who has not really been culturally relevant since David Tennant, maybe.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, arguably, but like I have never heard anyone other than just seeing random posts on Twitter talk positively about Doctor Who after Matt Smith.
Yeah. Also, a big shout out to the what would we call them, the Despotians, Despotites, who are in the chat.
The
Antromites?
Yeah. Thanks for coming over, guys. This is the first time me, Greg, and Echo are streaming simultaneously, so hopefully we'll get a larger audience. And don't forget, once we start actually tier listing the Marvel movies, put your grade in the chat, because you're part of rating the Marvel movies. We're going to look at the chat for all of these movies. And just make sure you put your grade in there.
Despotinians, Despotites. Yeah. I think just by random coincidence, I pushed one button when I was looking through the settings that enables sharing.
Objects.
So just by random coincidence, that would have been there.
Random coincidence. I see what you did there.
Haha.
Randoms are obviously randoms.
Mm-hmm.
So
Greg,
randomites,
Greg
randoms.
I know that I'm not a big Doctor Who person, so I don't know like the spirit of it. But if they brought it back and they went with the Chris Eccleston kind of serious, grittier type thing, do you think that would rekindle interest in the show, or would it hurt the brand even more because it just looks desperate and it's getting away from the whimsical kind of Doctor Who vibe? Is there any way to fix it at all?
Well, it depends, because if it'd have to be root and branch, because if they had like a Christopher Eccleston type, but they've still got a heavily progressive liberal writing room, then you'd have a jarring thing. It would feel contrived. People would smell it out. But if they went root and branch and they brought in some cool new people, just eccentrics, just weirdos, cardigan wearing with millions of affectations, people, and just create new villains, try and do a new Cyberman, try and do a new Dalek, try and up the stakes.
From their perspective, Echo, that's what they did, because these queer types, I think you said all of the writing staff was queer, the showrunners gay, and Ncuti Gat was gay. In their minds, they are that. They are, marginal, and they're standing up to the establishment. They are simultaneously endorsed by the establishment while masquerading as kind of cultural rebels. So in their mind, they are that cultural fringe, as opposed to what they actually are, which is the sort of regime-backed cultural mainstream, the backbone of the ideological culture that has just destroyed everything. It's kind of a contradiction. It's kind of a paradox, but that's how they perceive themselves. You have to understand that. So they think of themselves in those terms as the oddballs in the cardigans, and the oddballs who are just too edgy for everybody. That's how they think of themselves.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame. It's a disaster. But yeah, 1.5 million, even with the backing of Disney money, even with all the promotion and the BBC and everything. Astonishing. We'll never see the like
other
again.
thing is, I was thinking about this. Ncuti Gatwa, it can't be overstated how awful he was in this, because if you part of acting, you do a lot of research, and often you might look at older roles, and then you'll bring aspects of those old roles into your character. So, for example, if you're playing James Bond, you're going to look at the different Bond eras and try to bring that to synthesize that into your own interpretation of Bond. So you've got a little bit of Sean Connery, a little bit of Pierce Brosnan, a little bit of Timothy Dalton, and then you bring it out in your own performance. If you're doing Bond, I don't think Ncuti Gatwa did any of that. I think he just played himself. He didn't go back and look at the old Doctor and think, okay, well, I want to. I really like these 5 Doctors, so I want my Doctor to be a synthesis of those 5, with a little bit of my own take on it added in there. Maybe a little bit more camp, a little, a hint of gay, that kind of thing. But no, he just went in and he played himself. He didn't do any research. He was lazy as fuck. His attitude was, I'm going to play myself, and if you don't like it, you're a fucking bigot.
Yeah. Flamboyant, high energy. Because the great dynamic with the Doctors usually is the companions are kind of like an avatar for the viewer, and they're always easily frightened by strange new phenomena and evil, malignant creatures. And so when you're watching as a kid, the Doctor becomes kind of like this father figure, avuncular kind of figure who you think, he's going to save us, everything's going to be all right. That was the cool dynamic. But now you just have this guy who's flouncing around, is equally terrified as his companions, equally easily distracted, emotionally incontinent, even more than the companions sometimes. And so that dynamic fell apart. And so there was no particular reason to watch because you're just watching two high-strung people on the screen dealing with people in latex costumes. So it had no magic to it. If it just done, subtle and discreet little flickers and elements of queer stuff, little illusions here and there, it might have been cool. It might have been good. I might have even, thought this was all right because there are little subtle hints and nods and things like that. And he still would have been extolled as like a gay icon, even just doing it in a subtle sense like that. It would have been cool, but no, couldn't do it. Had to be, just transpose his personality wholesale onto the character. So it was more shooty Gatwa than the Doctor, as you said. Sucks.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Well, and I think you guys are completely correct in that they think of themselves as like real oppressed. They have like this victim thing, like the world is out to get us. That's why we have to stand up against whatever. And maybe there was a time when people were mad about it, but I really think that the fatigue, like just the malaise, the apathy has set in. And I think with Wheel of Time, it was the same way where a vast majority of the audience just doesn't care about the gay stuff. And by don't care, I really mean don't care. Not like don't care for or dislike or whatever. It is full neutral. I'm not interested. I just don't care. And so when, like you're saying, when a show is just full of something that you don't care about, random, close your ears for a second. Maybe you two echo. I don't care about cricket. I'm not in a bad way. I don't care. I don't care about it. It's so if I were watching something and it was like all about cricket references and all this, like I would just think, oh, well, that's fine. I'm not mad. I'm not going to watch this. So that's okay. And I'll just find something else. And that is what has happened to these shows. And they think that it's so important. And the audience just is bored. They don't care about this crap. And so they're going to find something else.
I'm not sure how closely I would agree because I'm thinking of like, for example, Formula One. Personally, like I could not give two shits about Formula One. But there's like 2 or 3 like Formula One movies, or like at the very least car driving racing movies that I just was able to look past the fact that I just don't care about that, and the movies themselves were fantastic. So I feel like it's definitely possible to make that kind of content that shouldn't appeal but does purely because of the quality of the writing. It's just that doesn't fucking happen with things like Doctor Who, it seems, or The Wheel of Time, or Rings of Power.
Yeah, although it is true. I mean, Hollywood overstate the importance of seeing yourself on screen. It is nice, though, when you're able to identify with characters, but not in the way Hollywood thinks. So, for example, has anybody here seen Sinners?
Not yet.
I haven't yet.
Fucking brilliant. It's one of the best American movies of this decade. It's excellent. See, don't listen to the chodes who say, oh, it's good, bro, but it's not that good. It's fucking class. Anyway, so there's a couple of characters in that, and a couple of character moments where I really fucking felt it, and I really identified strongly with the characters on screen. And you're talking about like black men from the American South in the 1920s, right? You're gonna struggle to get someone who is further away from me in terms of identity. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like immutable characteristics. And the reason that I identified with the characters wasn't because of the race or anything. It was just because of what they had gone through and the circumstances they found themselves in, because I felt that had happened to me in my own life to a less extreme degree, obviously. So that was a really nice moment when that does happen. But you can identify with characters and you can emotionally connect with them on screen, but it's never because of their skin color or because of who they fuck, generally speaking. It's usually due to their experiences.
Yeah. By the way, Desperate, just if you want to chuck in a comment about the Confederacy, please do, because it does gangbusters in the comments. I love it in the comments.
Help it, man. I'm reading. Yeah. Oh man, I recently read this. It was a book written in 1960 about the American Civil War called Grant Heads South or Grant Moves South. Brilliant book. I'm presently reading Grant Takes Charge. Great books. But it's very sad. It is very sad when you read about the slaves showing up to the camps and the conditions that they were in. Like they're just this diseased mass of human misery. Yeah. I would recommend any Confederacy stands out there to just read the literature, man.
Okay. Well, speaking of diseased mass of whatever, should we even just skip these? Because I couldn't be fucked talking about these twats.
These have been done to death on stream. Lads,
yeah.
The fucking movies aren't even out yet. Just wait. Yeah. Be patient. They'll come out. They might be great. There might be shit. Just wait for the fucking movie.
Okay, so here's our big thing for today. We're going to be doing a big rating session for all the Marvel films from 2008 onward. And there's quite a lot of them. And it's going to look like this. So here are the categories that you've got. You've got classic, nearly great, decent, mid, dud, and squalid cinematic trash. So those are your categories. And in order to make this streamlined and cohesive, Random, I think that since you're our specialist, I think, at getting into the nitty-gritty of things. So you're going to be the ultimate arbiter of deciding, based on everyone's suggestions, where it's going to end up. So you're going to collate our answers, and from your collation, deduce where it's ultimately going to go in a judicious, sensible, reliable way that we've come to know as
Not a
inherent
problem.
to you. Yeah.
You're obviously voting as well, Random, but you're the arbiter. You're like the final arbiter if we need to go to someone to get a final score.
Yeah,
that's
so
cool. I shall grab my ink and quill. Should we be, or should I be considering what chat says, or am I just primarily going from us? Okay, cool.
Chat too.
Okay, so we're basically throwing that hot potato in your lap to be the arbiter of where these go in the end.
No problem. Just to clarify with the way that you have the tier list set out, are we saying classic and squalid cinematic trash relative to other Marvel movies, or are we saying relative to movies in general? Like, is classic like one of the best movies ever made? Or?
I reckon you can make up your own mind on that.
Yeah. They can be squalid cinematic trash in and of their own right, or simultaneously within the MCU. So it's your decision. It's your call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the film. We'll give your thoughts, and then we've done it. We'll go back to the screen. And Greg, you're going to be the official fact checker of chronology to make sure that I'm okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So first off, well, we start off with a banger. So Did anyone see this in the cinema?
I did. I think I seen most Marvel movies in the cinema up to Endgame, really, and then I lost interest after Endgame, and then I started seeing them again after I became a YouTuber. But I watched all these. These were great popcorn movies, man. I fucking loved going to these. Like, I would usually go with a girl. It was great.
Brilliant. What I liked about it is that the suit felt clunky, like it had heft and weight to it. It had like a stomping heaviness to the footfalls. And it looks brilliant. It looks streamlined. It looks iconic, no matter what Riri Williams says about hers being iconic. This is the real iconic. The color scheme's fantastic. The tech porn is brilliant. Seeing him making mistakes and then getting better and better at developing it, fantastic. They were making it up a little bit on the fly, not by today's methods of, oh, fuck, we need to do reshoots because this isn't working, but just literally, kinetic energy behind the scenes to build it up and make it into something special.
Well, a lot of the dialogue was ad-libbed as well. Like they will have had much more of a script than it seems the more recent movies had, but like the specific dialogue, in particular, Robert Downey Jr. Improvised a lot of it. And I think it is also worth highlighting that this is the movie that introduced and cemented Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in the same way that, it's as iconic as Captain Jack Sparrow. It is that iconic, and this is the film that did it.
Yeah, plus a cool comeback story. He was still kind of dodgy, with all his drug-related stuff from the past. He was still not quite a sure bet. So a great comeback story. Even it kind of like little parallels with the character being kind of wayward and maverick. So that was threaded in there as well. And a great climactic scene with a wonderful twist. So great. All right.
It's also really efficient. I mean, when you look back at this one, you're establishing Tony and his original personality, and then he gets kidnapped, and then he has to build the suit, and we see all the tech porn and all that, and him iterating on it, and then he gets out and doesn't know what to do with it, and has to iterate on how he's going to be this hero, and like that's a lot of ground to cover, and they nailed it. There's no dead spots in that first movie. It's great.
Yeah,
if this came out today, would there be negative press? That he represents like a tech bro, and there's like negative connotations about that.
Well, you'll get negative press for everything.
He was, I believe, partly based on Elon Musk. Like at the time in 2008, that's partly what he based the performance on.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot edgier as well than a lot of the other Marvel movies, because I guess they hadn't quite worked out what the formula was going to be at this point. So, he I don't know how much swearing there is, I can't remember, but he's an alcoholic, he is a womanizer, and they don't shy away from that really at all, and they get a lot of laughs out of his behavior.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we'd all be hard pressed to put this as anything less than classic, surely.
Oh yeah, total classic. There's no single element of the movie that dips below great. Jeff Bridges, great villain, fantastic action, and for this to be the first Marvel movie, for it to be that fucking good, to get it right first time round, just awesome.
The weakest part of the film, I think, I like Jeff Bridges' performance. I really like Jeff Bridges as well, but I do think that the villain, it's Marvel syndrome for that era of Marvel at least. The villain is the weak point of the film. He just goes mad and tries to kill Tony in a robot suit. Yeah. That's the weakest part. Does that bump it down to nearly great? For a Marvel movie, I would say no, but I don't think that it's the best Marvel movie.
Okay. All right. So that's that. And my technical skills seem to be working. So I did it.
Yeah, beautiful presentation, by the way, Echo.
No, I tried to do the tier. What's it called? Random tier.
Tier list maker or tier maker. I can't remember.
Yeah, and it took up so much CPU that it took like 1 minute for these little things to move from one place to another. So I had to go back and just use Canva. So it looks a little. Better. Okay. Great. I'm glad. Okay, and then I go to here, and this takes us on to a little bit of a dip down. So I have a feeling this isn't going to be a classic among the panel.
I rewatched this one, I think, a couple of months ago, because for some reason, Marvel decided to make a sequel to this movie and call it Captain America 4. So I had to rewatch this movie in preparation for that.
Right.
Yeah, this movie, Once Upon a Time, was, I think, pretty easily the worst Marvel movie. But you go back and watch it now, and it's just a bad movie. It's not like, oh God, this is awful and fundamentally broken. It has a plot, it has character arcs, it makes sense. It's just not very good.
So that's your thumbnail for your YouTube video. It's just not very good.
Oh God, yeah, I might have to put that one on the production line at some point.
Yeah. Well, so then this raises an interesting question, because we then have to decide, because in my wisdom, I've come up with just a nice little nuanced categories. This could be a decent, it could be a mid, or it could be a dud. I don't think it's squalid cinematic trash, because I think they were trying, at least.
The question is, do we need to separate how bad the really bad Marvel movies are going to be? Like, are we going to say that, I don't know, The Marvels is squalid cinematic trash, but then Shang-Chi is a dud? Because The Incredible Hulk is better than both of those.
I would call The Incredible Hulk mid, because I think Edward Norton was an interesting choice for Hulk. I think it works quite well in that he's kind of
fantastic. Great.
He's costume. A geek, and you've got this wonderful dichotomy between this sort of scrawny guy and then the Hulk. Quite like that. And he's quite good in it. The battle with Abomination at the end. Who was the Tim Roth?
Tim Roth.
Roth. He was really good in it. And kind of a bit over the top, but fantastic. I really enjoyed the final battle between Abomination and Hulk. It was great. It had some really nice corny lines, like when Abomination pushes him up against the wall and goes, "You don't deserve this power." Really good, really corny stuff. So I'd give it a mid. It's not that bad, and it has some fun scenes in it. It's nothing special. It's kind of what you would call just cinematic slop. Today, this movie would probably be regarded as slop. So for me, it's a fun bit of slop, and that's it.
Squalid cinematic trash, there has to be a mean-spiritedness that no one was especially into the project, or if they were, it was for nefarious reasons of their own. So there's a little bit of heart in this, so it has to be somewhere between dud and mid, surely. Yeah,
I'd give it the mid for the same reasons. I think they were throwing crap at the wall at that time to see what stuck, and Iron Man did, and Hulk didn't, and then they tried him, a more goofy kind of version. He was still serious at first, I guess, when they reintroduced him as the other actor whose name I can't think of. But I did like the darker, more try to take it serious tone. And then now we have Smart Hulk, which is just, I think I'm remembering this better in light of Smart Hulk. Like, this seems better now because of where we are. But I'd still go with mid. I agree with Random that it is a movie. It's a movie that flows, and it's not egregiously terrible. So it's there.
All right.
You just
So a
reminded
couple
me,
of-
actually, that people go to this movie, go back to this movie and look at it fondly because it kind of nails the depiction of the Hulk itself in a way that the Mark Ruffalo era doesn't. Because he's a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, you've got Smart Hulk, but you've also got he's a lot more comic reliefy. And I would say that there are the best Hulk scenes probably appear in Avengers, the first Avengers movie, but that was because he'd been mind controlled, so it's not really the same. So I guess that's a point in this film's favor.
So I guess you're the arbiter. So is it going to be mid or dud, do you think?
Where would you put it, Echo? Because right
I
now,
went-
it bottom of mid is, I think, where we're at.
Yeah, bottom of mid, just up from a dud.
Okay, let's go for that then. It looks like chat, or the chats. I've got three chat windows open here, and yeah, it looks like it's going to be around about bottom of mid.
Okay. See if I can find my way back to reality in real time. Okay, Jesus Christ. Okay, this takes us on to. Okay. All right, Iron Man 2. Okay. Problematic, I think we'd all agree.
This is definitely worse than the Incredible Hulk. This one was ass.
There was I think some really great acting in this one. There was a real standout character, I think, in a lot of our minds that really elevate the whole movie. I think Scarlett brings this up to a solid mid at the very least.
She's
Peak
hot as
Scarlett,
fuck in it.
look at
So that's true. She does the honeypot thing. I do like that, but man, you see when you rewatch it, there's not that much Scarlett in it, and it's really boring. And I don't know what the fuck they were thinking having Mickey Rourke in there with his whips. It was just odd.
Hilarious.
With the flailing of the whips looked pretty cool in the trailer, though, don't you think?
Yeah, Judy Hopps in the chat, like Scarlett's barely in it. I know this is peak Scarlett Johansson, but she really is not in this movie much.
They made the scenes count.
I would say, this has got to be a dud for me. I wouldn't say it's so bad. Like, it's got a few things going on. Robert Downey Jr., he's still bringing it. And, the women are all hot. A couple of decent action scenes, but it's a bad movie, man. I'd give this one a dud.
Wow.
I'd agree with you. There were some good points, Joe. I mean, the Scarlet scenes were nice to look at. I did like his making the ring and the breaking it down and getting back to the whatever nuts and bolts thing. That was a neat scene, but so much of it, I can't remember so much of what happened in that movie because I think it was all just very bland.
Very, very forgettable movie. The villain is awful, and that really goes for both of them because you've also got Sam Rockwell as Mr. Anvil. What the fuck is his name? I can't remember. He's got a very silly name. And then Mickey Rourke playing Whiplash. It's personally, I prefer it to the Incredible Hulk, but I can totally see why it could go lower.
Well, we've kind of done ourselves here a little bit because if we've established that Hulk is mid and we're putting Iron Man 2 as a dud, are we happy with those
but bear
dynamics?
in mind as well, though. Bear in mind as well, Iron Man 2 was a follow-up to Iron Man, and it was very disappointing. Like, Hulk was just its own thing, existing there as this really bizarre kind of shit movie. But this fucked up what should have been a brilliant trilogy.
All right.
So it was just a point for that.
So over to you, Random. Are you settling with dud?
Let's go with top of dud for now. My guess is it's going to end up above most other films that go in dud, but we'll see.
Yeah, you can change these, over time if you feel you need to.
Yeah, it depends. It's going to get very I think it's going to get quite top heavy, and then it's going to just bottom out. And
yeah, that's true.
On a groove, just for a moment.
Okay, all right, and that brings us on to Thor. I'm right chronologically here, Greg?
it was either this or Captain America. Yeah,
that's right. Iron Man 2, then Thor. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, seems like a decent film. It is what it is. It's kind of shallow. It's kind of ridiculous. But everything that it needs to do, it does well. Chris Hemsworth, you got some prestige acting there. A little bit of Natalie going on. It's all right. It's not great, but it's not bad.
I I personally like it, but I acknowledge that it's not particularly good. A large part of why I like it is because I think that Chris Hemsworth is good in the role. You've also got Anthony Hopkins and Idris Elba. They just don't really get to do much in this Thor movie. But then it's also got all the human characters that just piss me off. And when we're spending time with them, I'm like, can we please just go back to Asgard and do our thing and, have fun with the Norse gods? But like Thor's whole central arc of losing his power and then learning to be a good person and all the rest of it. And also Loki in the film introduces Loki, who is very solid in this film, more so than in the second one.
It takes a premise that is patently ridiculous and a character that's patently ridiculous and gives it just a tiny little bit of gravitas. Like they did the best they could out of it, out of the source material.
Yeah, the biggest problem for me was the robot with the fires light out of his face. And that thing, it enters the village, or it's basically just this little American village, and it starts fucking shit up. And then Thor shows up and beats it in like 30 seconds or something. It's not a great battle. It's not good enough. It's that cliche where the hero is between life and death and then falls into a kind of purgatory. And there's memories. He's memories wash up in his brain, and some family member says something heroic to him, and then he comes back fully formed and defeats the villain. It's a cliche that keeps coming up in comic book movies. It was even in Blue Beetle, if anyone remembers that it had that exact scene. Captain Marvel did it. It's the suppose you would call it the near-death experience cliche.
The resurrection scene.
The resurrection
cliche, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Because resurrection scenes might be a bit different because they're literally dead and then they come back. There are resurrection scenes. This one's near-death experience, and then they come back fully formed. But we'll call it the resurrection scene just to be for convenience. So that's in there, and then he beats the robot thing, and it's a bit shit. Other than that, though, it's really good. That's the only thing. That's the only major problem I have with it. I'm gonna disagree with Random on the human characters. I thought they were decent. They provided a bit of comic relief, and they didn't overdo it. Maybe they overdid it a little bit, but not too much. So for me, this would be solid decent. This would be our first decent.
I'm thinking decent. Yeah, I'm leaning to decent.
I was going to give it a mid plus, but I could be talking about decent. I think it's tarnished in my mind because they abandoned a lot of what they set up, especially with the Asgardian team, and they made them kind of goofy, which I thought they were going to do sort of a D&D type thing, and then they just sort of abandoned them. And of course, obviously, same thing with Hulk with Thor. They just decided, let's make him goofy. And so now looking back on this, there was a lot of cool setup that they never used, and that kind of irritates me. So I feel like I ranked it lower than it deserves.
All right. So Random, it comes down to you. Are you going to opt for a low decent or
Let's
a high
go.
mid?
It's going to be low decent because I think it is definitely should be in a tier above the Incredible Hulk. But what else ends up? My guess is it'll be a low decent, but we will see.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
If whatever the next Marvel movie is, it's Fantastic Four, isn't it? If Fantastic Four comes out and it's of the same quality as Thor, we'll be so happy. We haven't had a film that good in a while.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Okay, back we go, and now it gets Captain America: The First Avenger. High quality film here.
This is my favorite. This is probably my favorite Marvel movie.
Tonally, it's perfect.
Movie.
Yeah.
Now the Red Skull is a little bit weak, but at the same time, I love how simple he is. He brings the Nazis into the room and he says, "These weapons will help me to destroy my enemies." And like, "Your enemies?" And then he blows them up with his wee laser. He's cartoonishly villainous. I think they leaned into how simple and stupid he was, and it really works. So this is classic for me. And they fucking nailed Captain America. Chris Evans was absolutely perfect. I love the World War II scenes where he comes out in his big sort of cartoonish Halloween costume, and he's reading the monologue off his shield. Oh, it's brilliant. I love it.
If this film came out today, it would be such a catharsis for everyday dudes. We'd be like weeping in the cinema going, "Oh, I didn't think this was possible anymore. This is so great." Look at that. Even the poster looks fantastic. Great, incredible character arc. Looks lavish and fantastic on the screen. Peak MCU.
The
Beautiful
thing
stuff.
with this film, it always, because the thing that you remember is the character of Steve Rogers and the journey that he goes on throughout the film, because this is the film, possibly apart from Civil War, but this is his film where it's entirely about like where he started versus where he ended up. And the more I think about it, I like that. And then I watch it, having seen it like 3 or 4 times now, and I watch it and I'm like, well, this really isn't doing a huge amount for me. I don't know if it's the presentation. It seems like a very sort of by the numbers movie with a really solid spine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like the movie could have been a lot better, but there's a lot in it that I do really like.
It's grown better over time, hasn't it? This bit, like it occupies a nice in your sort of subconscious when you think of the MCU. This occupies a nice space. Feels solid.
It's a time in the MCU where men were allowed to be heroic without the permission of a female character. The only major female character in it is basically a love interest, although she's still doing her part. You know, she's working in the war office or whatever it is. So, you know, not to say that she isn't also helping the allies in their cause. So it's a time where where Marvel seem to actually celebrate masculine heroism. So to that extent, it has improved over time because you have this nostalgia for it, and you know the Marvel movies are never going to get back to that because Marvel, Disney, they just can't help themselves anymore. They can't. They'll never allow this again.
Yeah, when I was reviewing this in the last couple of days, just going through it all, the tonal shift post 2019 was so precipitous. The change from masculinity, from simple courage, from simple storylines, from cohesion to respecting the audience. The drop is just incredible. So I guess we have to decide where we're going to place it, which means I think we're generally happy with classic, although you could surprise us, Random, by opting for a nearly great.
Chat is kind of leaning more towards nearly great. I personally would be putting it in decent.
Whoa, controversy.
But yeah,
Burn the Witch. It's a classic.
This is making me want to rewatch it. If I have to make a call, then based on what chat is saying and what you guys are saying, I think that there is enough of a disagreement to say nearly great. Because there's a lot of people in chat who seem to be saying decent, and I think even it out, put it in nearly great.
Wow. Well, look at this. Speaking of lack of cohesion, like we've got almost one of each now. Okay.
Perfectly balanced.
Yeah, I guess so.
What is the first one that's going to end up in the bottom tier?
Squalid, yeah.
Oh, Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3.
Possibly.
Okay. Well, the Avengers. And again, keep me on track chronologically. Greg.
No, you're on it.
Okay. Well, thoughts.
This was Joss all the way right here. It's nice. I got the Wikipedia. I can see the directors, the writers. I can act like I know what I'm talking about. This is fantastic.
Brilliant.
This movie shouldn't have worked as well as it did. Like it was really the first time that anyone had tried to do something like this. You have a different director, and Joss Whedon wrote it as well, if I'm correct, as well as directed it. Yeah. So they Marvel, Disney. I guess this was before Disney owned Marvel. I think. Brought in Joss Whedon and essentially said, right, we need you to write something that brings together this team of 6 characters. And they actually managed to kind of integrate each character meaningfully into the plot. Even like Black Widow and Hawkeye. Hawkeye is kind of wasted in the movie, I will say that, because he gets mind controlled and he's an evil minion for 90% of the film. So apart from him, all of the others are integrated into the plot. You've got how the Hulk is connected with trying to, he became the Hulk because he was trying to recreate the super serum. You've got Thor is hunting Loki and Loki is the villain. And then you obviously have the dynamic between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, which is one of the best parts of the film. Like the whole climax battle is them fighting infinite horde of they're not respawning, but infinite horde of CG aliens. So it's like, fine, it's just visual noise, but they managed to actually like ground the action pretty heavily in the characters, and the characters all feel very, very distinct. Which was not the case in something like whatever the Zack Snyder one was called, Justice League, where every character is some variation of I punch people hard. So
Yeah.
I personally think that this is probably the best Marvel film,
Wow.
with maybe one exception.
Wow, and it's Winter Soldier, obviously. I'll go with classic on this one as well. It's just I don't want to say more than you've already said. It pulls together so much that almost no other movie's ever done. The setup was excellent. The execution was fantastic. Everybody feels distinct. It's marvelous. That wasn't meant to be a joke.
To be so for real here, I low key hard agree with Random. So second everything he says, like, bro.
Okay, so there's you can see that, and then I go to here. So we're locked in as a classic.
I mean, it's going to be classic. Honestly, Echo, it's going to be a classic. And yes, unless you hate this fucking movie.
No, it's got a slow motion group shot, so that in and of itself.
I think there's some folks out there that want to be contrarian and say it really did suck. It's not. It's a great movie. It really is. That 360 shot, like, that was incredible. And they learned, of course, all the wrong lessons, but the setup was great. The delivery there was fantastic. That moment was really cool. It was just a really cool cultural moment that you just don't see a lot anymore.
Yeah, I think, exactly. Yeah. If you were to synthesize that era in pop culture,
the way they were able to get the characters to coalesce and come together on screen without getting in each other's way, that's a really major achievement, because these are all different characters that are, a couple of them have their own major franchises now. So to get them on screen together without having those clashes, just brilliant stuff.
Question just before we move on, because now we have two films in the same tier. Are we ranking films within the same tier? Do we need to decide if Avengers is better than Iron Man?
Well, that could be a whole different stream in and of itself.
No. That's going to take too long. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Well, making good time. Iron Man 3. Okay. Greg, you're in charge for 2 minutes.
My first guest knows how. No, I can't do it. I'm prepped. All right. So Iron Man 3. Are we feeling like solid dud on this one? Because this was a build up to what was supposed to be a really cool villain, and then they thought it would be really funny to do a little switcheroo, and it's Ben Kingsley and he's an actor, and it's a joke the entire time. And this is where they started pretending that they had been setting things up all along, when really they just cherry picked crap from the previous movies and pretended like they were actually Easter eggs. This is a low point in the franchise, and they learned a lot of bad things. This is a dud in my opinion. What was the one below dud? Was there something below dud?
Dud was squalid trash, which I'm guessing that's what you would say, Despot, then.
This is absolute squalid trash. Yeah. I mean, Ben Kingsley, great actor. They've completely wasted him. They turned him into a joke. Like, he could have been a brilliant film if he was properly written, and you fucking wasted Ben Kingsley. And then they've got the kid in there who's supposed to be the tool of Iron Man's redemption, and that's a theme in the director. They brought in this director who didn't really do action, maybe Shane Black.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of his filmography, hold on, I'm looking at his Wikipedia now. I'm trying to find his.
He did The Nice Guys. He did The Predator.
Yeah, he was very much the wrong guy for this, and I think, was he a friend of Robert Downey Jr. or something? I'm not sure. But he was just so wrong for this, and he brought his own aesthetic to it. So he sets it at Christmas. He has this kid, and Iron Man comes kind of a surrogate father to him, and the kid becomes kind of a surrogate son, but then not really, because they completely forget each other and never shows up in the MCU again, and it doesn't work like that. Oh, fatherhood isn't something you can temporarily have so that you can become a redemptive character. It's a permanent feature of your life. So that it just doesn't work. It's so dumb, and then it's horribly paced. It's boring as fuck, mostly. The scenes with the kid are absolutely dreadful. And possibly the worst aspect about it, the one that annoys me the most, and maybe this is just a personal thing to me, I hate that it's narrated by Iron Man. Like who the fuck are you talking to, man? This is a Marvel movie. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you telling this story to? No, we never find out. So it's literally Iron Man talking to the audience, breaking the fourth wall the whole time. Fuck this, man. This is not canon. Because you don't get to break the fourth wall in Marvel movies. It has to happen in world. Now, fuck this movie.
This one also had, if I remember, it's been so long since I've watched it. This is where they were just like, tap into the satellites and look at the thermal arrays, and there's an explosion, and it was 40,000 Kelvin, and that's how we know that it was really the explosive people. It's like we saw that backward in time or some shit.
Wait, I have a question
so
for chat.
terrible.
Chat, does anyone think this is higher than squalid cinematic trash? Anyone?
The argument I would make for that is that it is, personally, I think, head and shoulders above most of what Marvel has done post Endgame in terms of how entertaining it is. It is. I basically agree with everything that you said, Despot, but I would much rather rewatch Iron Man 3 than The Eternals or Black Panther 2 or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania or Captain, basically all of them. So is there anything to be said for putting it at the bottom of dud on that basis and saving trash for like the
I have
absolute...
seen some mid. I've seen mid and dud in the trash. I could go for dud for the action scenes, maybe.
Just because it doesn't hate you, it's a dud.
Yeah, there was the sort of action scene where he had all the suits coming out, which again I didn't like because I felt that having that many suits cheapened the Iron Man suit and it turned it into it sort of nerfed the suit, and that really fucking annoyed me.
Just I don't know, pace yourself, because squalid cinematic trash, you got to pace yourself in that category, right? So
I feel like what Greg just said though should highlight this is that the movie is really bad and it's really dumb, but it doesn't hate you. So maybe that's why it goes in dud.
Oh, the bar is so low.
All right, well, as painful as it is to see this, man, like the injustice of it.
Okay. And then I should probably have this down by now. So go back to here, and then I return this to here. All right, we're doing good. Okay, and then this is pretty like duddish, midish, surely.
I have a challenge for you guys. Can you tell me anything about the plot of this movie?
I think I can. So Natalie Portman, for reasons that I can't remember, becomes the possessor of some sort of red magic. It goes inside her. I can't remember how or why, but that's what happens.
It's one of the Infinity Stones. I think she boofed one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, something like that. So it basically enters her body, and now she's carrying it around, and it's killing her or making her sick. I can't quite remember. And then Thor shows up and says, "Oh, we have to take her back to Asgard because only they can heal her." And then Malekith or Malachi, whatever the fuck he was called, who's one of the worst Marvel villains, he shows up because he wants to kill Natalie Portman and recover. Or not recover, he wants to kill her and then steal this, whatever it is, Infinity Stone or red magic. And then he almost destroys the world. I think they do the thing where a portal opens up and either the portal starts sucking up the world or evil things start coming out of it, and then the world is saved. Something like that. It's absolute trash, but it's got a few things going on. I did like how much Thor cared for Natalie Portman and wanted to save her. That was quite touching. And, it's always good to see that trio works really well. Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, and Chris Hemsworth. That's a great screen trio. So this is never going to be squalid trash for me, but it's a really solid dud movie.
Yeah, this is pure dud, right? Man.
I'd say probably because of how forgettable it is, it can't really go any higher than dud. But it does, like you say, it has bits that I think are at the very least okay. The final action sequence, I believe it's that there's a portal that he's opened on each of the 9 worlds, and that they're kind of aligning, and when they align, wacky shit starts happening. And they do some creative stuff where he throws a hammer through one and then he has to wait and it comes back through another portal. And there's some neat bits of creativity in the action scene. But I mean, apart from that, what have we got? Basically nothing from memory.
I failed your challenge. I can't remember a damn thing about this.
even the poster looks washed out and ugh.
Yeah, the cinematography's bad as well. It's too dark. I don't know, maybe this was at the front end of that dark cinema phase where you literally can't see a fucking thing. Yeah. Try watching it during the day, you won't be able to see anything. If you got the window open in the room. So it's too dark. The cinematography is hideous. Yeah, solid dud. Best left forgotten.
Random dud it is.
Yeah, gonna be a dud.
Okay. All right. Dud seems to be leading the way so far. Okay, and then back to here, and back to there, And this moves us on to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Beautiful.
This one I think is interesting because I feel like it is easily one of the best presented Marvel movies. I think that the plot itself is not particularly strong, but it gets a lot of points because I really enjoy all of the action scenes. And I believe this was the first Marvel movie that the Russos did, and they seem to be very good at, like, I guess, staging visually impressive scenes. So, you know, action, visual effects, and all the rest of it. And also the pacing of this movie is, I want to say, maybe perfect. It's just, it is so tightly paced. There is always something going on, but it never feels overwhelming. It never feels like you're just being bombarded with bullshit. And it has a lot of Samuel Jackson. I think this is the first Avengers movie, apart from the Avengers, I guess, where he was like a main character in the film.
Look at the photoshopping on Scarlett's waist. It's like Victorian corset kind of deal there.
Yeah, they use the sunlight.
She's so big in this.
This was, I think this was really great in my opinion, because it was one of the early ones that had a really strong theme, especially for Cap. Like he really was more than just a hero. Like in his first one, he really was. I think he's one of their strongest characters, but in this one, they break that mold by saying that he's a hero and he won't just work for the government. He's interested in, you know, real moral goodness, real heroics, not just whoever tells him to put the shield on and go work for the American government or whatever. And I think that as a character, it really elevated him. And I think that in Top Gear style, this is not this needs to be in its own little mini fridge, past classic. This is above and beyond that. It's so damn good.
Yeah, I love the ending of this as well. The Bucky reveal was superb. And then how Cap has to deal with that was very interesting psychologically. So rather than just be a big, strong hero and a big, strong leader, he actually has a very difficult psychological challenge to overcome, which is how does he come to terms with the fact that his friend has become his best friend is a mind slave and a mass murderer. That's very difficult. And that was my favorite part of the movie, the favorite aspect of the movie. And I loved the ending where he redeems Bucky. Not redeems, I mean, he was a mind slave murderer, but he at least brings him back from the brink. I thought that was wonderful. That was my favorite part of the movie. And the final scene where Bucky pulls him out of the river, just beautiful. I can never not love that scene. You know, I could watch it 100 times and still love it. Total classic.
All right. So, Random, we're happy with classic, or do you have any dissent?
I am not gonna lower the vote because it looks like people in chat are saying classic, so this one goes in classic.
Okay. Isn't this interesting kind of retrospectively? Like when we think of this in our minds, we think of a well-oiled machine, we think of hit after hit. But look at that, there's an equal number of mids and duds, even this early on in the process with the MCU. So kind of interesting. Okay, and then I go back to here, and then I go back to the stage. And all right, Guardians of the Galaxy. Who would have dreamt this would be what it was? Especially coming straight off the heels of those other films, which are kind of very overwrought, masculine, down the line kind of films, and then this quirky little offbeat thing. Yeah,
every Firefly fan ever knew this was going to work. So,
Firefly is that's a really good point. I mean, Serenity. If you want to look at a movie that kind of is a forerunner of this and is ahead of its time in its sense, Serenity. It's based on that kind of model, so it's not wholly original, but you know what movie is. But this is a massively overdone cliche now, that kind of Guardians of the Galaxy character format. I mean, Concorde tried to do that, for example. Anyone remembers Concorde? But it's still great for its time, and it got it might lose points. I mean, it depends on. Let me ask the panel. Just, do you think it loses a point because it kind of started that quippy, quirky MCU humor that never really went away?
I would say no, but I think that you're right. I think that a large part of why Age of Ultron went the way that it did is because of the success of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers, I guess, but the Avengers handles it slightly differently. So I don't think we should penalize Guardians for people trying to imitate it in a bad way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, I would say that, like, Guardians, I love the cast. There's the movie that looks this goofy apart from, like Greg says, Firefly fans, I don't think many people were expecting this to be as successful or anywhere near as good as it actually ended up being. But yeah, it's got solid character arcs. Basically all of the characters are treated pretty seriously, especially like Drax. Like Drax is a serious character in this movie, and then they kind of flanderized him after this, even though like Guardians 2 still has some really good moments. Like in this, he is a very serious character. And like I personally would probably say that this is the funniest Marvel movie. I don't know, maybe it just appeals to my sense of humor.
No, you're right. It's hilarious, and they got this style of humor right. And I also like that this was different, because you don't want to get into basically what Marvel has now, where everything is regurgitation of something else. This was fresh and original at the time. It was a real breath of fresh air after, some of the seriousness of what Marvel had been doing with Civil War. This was just a bit more lighthearted fun, go to the cinema, enjoy some popcorn, have a few laughs. This is a classic for me because of those reasons. I think the character dynamic is excellent, really good pacing, fun action sequences. It's not a masterpiece, but at the same time, it's still a classic because it was just so original and fresh at the time and funny, and it just basically gets everything right. And it does have those moments of brilliance as well.
I think it also benefits from being essentially entirely isolated from the rest of the MCU until this point, because nothing in this, apart from there's a gemstone and Thanos is Gamora's dad, but like those are references. They don't actually really interplay with the plot itself, which means James Gunn could just do his own thing, and that's why this feels like a James Gunn movie rather than a Marvel movie, which was an effect that gradually became lesser as you go through the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, a breath of fresh air, just good spirits, good-hearted. Just when the MCU was starting to feel a little bit too self-serious. Great soundtrack. That was a big seller. Everyone just bought into that and loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It tapped into a little bit of the camp and kitsch origins of the comics in a way that was really pleasant and resonated with people. So it just hit all these beautiful notes at exactly the right time. And everyone thought at that time that, the MCU can do no wrong. They've got the secret sauce. So it was just a cool little cultural event. And everyone bought in. And it had a nice little after effect that you could then go back to the pompous seriousness of the main content. So it had a balancing effect there as well. So I think we'd all be in agreement generally that this would land in classic territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, much like Iron Man, I think the weakest part of the film is the villain. But in this case, the problem with the villain is that he's evil man who wants to smash the planet. And like, I just don't care. But then that's not the focus of the film at all. They really lean hard into like the Guardians, and they barely give Ronan the Accuser much time at all.
Mm-hmm. All right. So entering peak territory now with 4 classics. That's astonishing. 4 out of 5, 6, 7, 4 classics out of 10 films, out of 10 releases. Man, astonishing stuff.
Everything seemed to be going so well.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where we all agree that the cracks started to show.
All right. Guys, I'm gonna be back in a few minutes. I can't remember this movie.
because so much
even the
happened.
poster looks like a mess. God,
it's. I remember it being a big mess, but I did like James Spader as Ultron. Really liked his voice acting, and it was a bit all over the place. But I'm just gonna give this one a dud because it's so fucking forgettable. Anyway,
so Random, talk us through it because this is all memory hold for us.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this movie, and I think I've only seen it twice. I really like what they were trying to do with Ultron, but I think that the characterization of Ultron is one of the worst, like most egregious examples of the James Gunn, Joss Whedon comedic archetype, where like every time something happens, a character will do the undercut quip. This is the movie where that really became obnoxious, because not James Gunn, Joss Whedon does that quite a lot anyway, but usually he will make it work in a way that feels a lot more natural than this, because that kind of thing happens in the first Avengers movie, but it always, felt like something that the characters would actually say. In this, it felt like he had just written a quip and gave it to the character so that there was a joke. couple of the action scenes were entertaining to watch. You've got Iron Man in the Hulkbuster suit fighting the Hulk. That was cool, I guess. It was fine. You've got Ultron levitating a city, and then they fight the robots, and then they drop them. But yeah, honestly, I feel like Ultron was, the way he was introduced, had so much potential, and then it went downhill almost immediately because Ultron is a fucking idiot. He should have won very easily, and he didn't.
Yes, so villains start to become a bit of an issue somewhere around here, I think. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like a clusterfuck of a film. Like they tried to go into cruise control, and they just let slip somehow in some inherent way, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah, well, and just they're trying to get 4 to 5 hours worth of movie into this, and I mean they were trying to create this whole Natasha Bruce romance thing. They were trying to redeem Hawkeye and give him a cool speech and give him a lot of moments. They were trying to introduce 2 brand new characters, whole villain origin story. Like it was just too much, and every scene there was no breathing for 2.5 hours.
So yeah, this could be the thing where it becomes where these Marvel films could become a little bit fatiguing, and the idea of the third act going on too much and becoming too bombastic. So that was starting to show through a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
I could still, I think just like, you know, all the action and stuff. I could go with decent, like a low decent, high mid kind of a thing.
What do you think, Random?
Despot said dud. I'm definitely thinking dud.
Wow. Yeah,
Chat honestly is all over the place, so I don't know I don't know how to summarize what chat is saying. So what would you say, Echo?
Anything that lifts it into mid territory? People didn't hate the film, right? It just seemed people were kind of like there was no magic to it this time. It was the first one of those.
Yeah, I think maybe part of the problem is that it is an Avengers movie. Like the first one kind of, it summarized everything and brought everything together that had been set up in the previous movies. And then this one happened and it was like, oh, great, is this going to be? And then no, it's one of the worst movies up to that point. So this was the one that needed to be really good.
Yeah, all the relative to the material you've got to work with, everything that you've established, all the A-grade actors, and this is what you produce, then surely you'd have to categorize it as a dud for those reasons, right?
I would, in terms of the lost potential, it's a dud. Absolutely. Yeah. We could maybe argue it up to a mid, but I would say dud. Yeah.
I mean, no one loves this film, right?
I don't know anyone who loves this film.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's one of those, everybody agrees that it had more potential and didn't live up to it kind of a thing. So I don't know if you put that in a dud because it didn't live up to it, or you put it in mid because it had the potential. I don't know.
Hold on. We might have to revise this because there are a shitload of people in Despot's chat saying mid.
All right, so this is unprecedented. The chat is going to override our choice.
Yeah, looking at that, like if we forget the names of the categories, I'd say it's about on par with The Incredible Hulk, looking at that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Wow. So, chat, you do have an influence, okay? We listen to you, we acknowledge you, we see you. And so that's what happened there. So that's a bit of drama for the stream. Exciting. Okay. And that takes us on to Ant-Man. Now, I have a feeling this might land in the nearly great category. Because it's fun, it's cheerful, it's got a great aesthetic. Everyone loves a bit of Paul Rudd. He's like ideal for the character. Visuals looked great. It's not outstanding, but
again,
it's a high quality film.
I feel like, as with Age of Ultron, this was a case of lost potential, and it depends on how much we want to acknowledge that, because this could have been a lot better. Edgar Wright was involved early on, and from the few interviews that I've heard him talk about some of his ideas for the film, it could have been a lot better. And then they basically booted him out because Marvel were not interested in making an Edgar Wright movie because they didn't trust him in the same way that I guess they trusted James Gunn.
So yeah, this might actually be in the decent. Yeah, this could be a decent category.
Personally, I would be putting it lower. I think that the villain in this movie is awful. What's the line? I'm going to destroy everything you love. And if my wife wasn't asleep, I would be saying that a lot louder, but I can't. Like he does in the film.
Are you keeping it separate from "I'm not a dick"? Like, are you still just focusing on only Only
yeah.
Ant-Man, not
Just talking about Ant-Man, I think that the character is awful in this, but I mean, honestly, MODOK is probably the best part of that movie.
Yeah, they were trying to riff on Cain and Abel, and the idea was that the baldy guy was Cain and Paul Rudd was Abel. Or no, was it Paul Rudd was supposed to be Abel or Evangeline Lilly? I can't remember. Whatever.
I'm not sure.
So he was supposed to be Cain, and that's a really nice character archetype when you get it right. The best example of it, obviously, is Amadeus, when Salieri is supposed to be Cain and Mozart is Abel. But this one just does it so appallingly badly. It's dreadful. But that's the only bad part of it, in my opinion. I think other than that, the movie's really good, well paced, fun. It's a nice origin story movie. The problem was, the villain was too cartoonish and evil. I think if they had pulled back a bit and made the villain even just a bit more generic, even not trying to be too ambitious with it.
Yeah,
a bit more, sort of think Sam Raimi Spider-Man, that kind of thing. Although that was a fucking amazing villain. So they blew the villain, typical Marvel. But this is what a good Marvel movie looks like. A lot of people with the recent, Thunderbolts cultural conversation, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Thunderbolts is a good movie. It's not great, but it's good." It's not good. This is good. Right? Ant-Man is what a good Marvel movie looks like.
I mean, it's essentially it's not a frontline character. It's closer to an ancillary character in the universe, right? So taking that and then making the most out of it and turning it into something endearing, I think they did the best that they could. My favorite line from Amadeus, just while it's on my mind, is Mozart comes out of a concert that Salieri has put on, and Salieri asks Mozart, "What did you think?" And Mozart says, "One hears such music, and one can only say Salieri."
Right. It's not a compliment.
Yeah, so it's perfect. And then it lingers on Salieri with the kind of deadpan expression. Perfect. Anyway, so this is, it's not mid. It's not nearly great. Surely it just has to be good.
I think, can I see the tier list again? I forget what the order is.
So there's a decent there, surely.
I think it's going to land in decent, looking at chat. I think it's probably better than Thor. Also, something I want to mention that I do really like in the film is the fact that Scott Lang is a criminal. The only other time we've had anything like that is in Guardians of the Galaxy. And the whole dynamic with him, like losing his family because the wife is remarried and trying to have a relationship with the daughter, which then informs basically everything that he does in the film. I thought that was very solid. So, like, the character is great, but typical Marvel style, the villain is shit.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Okay. That's good. And then onwards to Civil War. Things starting to look a little too bombastic with way too many characters and things starting to sprawl a bit, and normies maybe getting a little confused and a little bit of exhaustion coming in from the too much screen time. A few little rough around the edges bits.
I can see that being a complaint with the movie, but personally, I would put this up there with Avengers, the first Avengers movie. I think that this is the best movie for Captain America. I think this is the best movie for Iron Man. I think that it does a fantastic job at exploring in it, like, probably the most mature way out of any Marvel movie. Not that this is some, like, I don't know, high art, edgy, whatever we want to call it. But the idea that you have these completely polar opposite perspectives that are informed within the setting, it deals with consequences, and it actually deals with consequences in a meaningful way, even though we're talking about the consequences of Age of Ultron, which we basically just said, like, that movie is really, really dumb, and it's not particularly good. But yeah, they acknowledge that, like, hold on, there's a bunch of stuff that's been happening in this setting for so long. We need to just take a step back and be like, how would the Avengers actually be treated? And I think they do a very good job of that. They do a great job of justifying why each of these individual characters would be on the sides that they're on. The only thing that I found, I don't know what the word would be to describe it. It was distinct to me that Thor and Hulk were absent, because if either of them had been present, whatever side they're on is going to win. So
plus, they would have looked so goofy in a film like this, which is trying to do adult themes, ideological perspectives, and
yes. I will say probably my biggest problem with the movie is that after the airport fight, which I really, really do quite like. Oh, of course, this is the best Black Panther movie as well. And it's also the movie that introduced Spike. Like, it does so much. But anyway, after that, like, the consequence of that airport fight is that Rhodey gets shot down by accident. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, my legs don't work too good. And he can walk. It's like, bro, you should be fucking dead. You fell like thousands of feet. And I feel like had they killed him off, then that would have had a stronger emotional impact on Tony Stark. I think they should have killed him off, and they probably weren't allowed to. That's my guess.
Was he a Skrull at this time? What's the timeline?
I don't know what a fucking Skrull is, man. I haven't seen the TV show.
Did we go back? We retconned it. I think he was a Skrull at this point.
Maybe that explains how he survived.
In a show
did Segovia ever feel like authentic and real and well delivered, or did it always feel contrived and kind of bullshit?
In Age of Ultron, you mean the events that happened in Sokovia?
No, just like the idea of the country of Segovia. It always felt kind of bullshit to me.
Oh, why? Because they didn't want to name a particular country, so they just invented one.
Yeah, it just felt really contrived and kind of dumb.
I can't say really, I guess.
Balkans, if you're gonna make up a country, the Balkans is a good place to do it because they have a new country every week.
That's true. Okay, well, this could be contentious. This could be a challenge.
Oh, it's not a challenge.
What's the chat saying?
Classic seems to be saying nearly great to classic. There's the odd person who is saying that it's trash, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, Despot, get off the fence. Where are you going to put it, Despot?
This one in classic. Yeah. Let's not forget as well there's the psychological battle that we get at the end, and the moral conundrum where Iron Man wants to kill Bucky because he finds out that he was the Winter Soldier, and then Cap, quite rightfully in my opinion, is defending him because from Cap's perspective, he was the instrument of evil, but he wasn't actually in control of himself, so it would be wrong to kill him. But Iron Man can't get beyond that because it was his mother that was killed by this guy. But Cap is morally in the right there to defend Bucky. Also because Bucky's defenseless and Iron Man's trying to kill a defenseless man. It feels like bad form to me. You know what I mean? So I love that scene. I love that scene, and I really like how Cap's character comes out really well, but it also explores Tony Stark's character flaws, his inability to get beyond his trauma and what happened to his mother, and his desire for vengeance, and that kind of goes to the core and the theme of the movie in terms of the divide. Like, why is Cap choosing right? Like, by the way, Cap's right. You don't put that kind of power into the hands of the government. You know, those people that invaded 2 countries in the Middle East and killed millions of people, yet you don't give them that kind of power. So Cap is right, and Tony's wrong, and that we see that confirmed at the end when Tony just goes blood drunk and Cap has to stop him. Brilliant scene, and it encapsulates the movie really well.
I love the subversion as well at the end that kind of sets up that fight scene, the confrontation with Bucky, Tony, and Steve, is like the film seems to be building towards, they're going to have to fight like, an army of Buckies, an army of like brainwashed super soldiers. And then they get there and it's like, well, they're all dead. So what now? And then it turns out that they had been lured there specifically because, not Zola, what's his name? Zima? I can't remember the guy's name.
He was a good villain.
Yeah, I like him a lot. The fact that I can't remember his name just tells you that I haven't seen this film in a while. But yeah, it had all been orchestrated by him to lure them there. So if we're making a decision, then it's got to be classic, I think. Then
no, it's a full classic, because this is a lot like Winter Soldier, where it kind of elevates above your average superhero whatever movie. Like, there's a real deep philosophical, moral question, and the movie doesn't slap you in the face with one side or the other. It really presents both sides nicely and lets you decide, and you can make a good case for both, even though I firmly believe the Cap was absolutely correct. And I think it was last time, Echo, that you were talking about that, like, these movies were Tony's saving grace because his movies were shit, but his appearances in these are what helped grow his character. And him and Cap are the 2 top characters of the whole MCU, but it's not because of his second and third movie. It's because of his appearances in these other ones that fleshed him out. He got saved.
Okay. Doctor Strange.
Hmm.
I
I
don't
mean,
like it.
multiverse. This kind of sows the seeds for a lot of the
Yeah.
problems and things that people would dislike. But it's not to blame for that, because in and of itself, it doesn't know in the future that it's sowing the seeds for all the things like the bullshit you can get out of any situation. You can retcon anything. You can retroactively do whatever to whatever, so that the stakes become meaningless. I feel that the seeds were sown here, but I don't think that's necessarily this film's fault. So as a standalone film, when it came out, I remember it being, people were okay-ish. It felt like too much of a kind of diversion. It felt in terms of morality and stakes, rather than expanding into mind-blowing categories. It kind of became almost banal in a sense. So it kind of set that in motion.
Yeah,
That's,
and it was real. It was like a MCU plot device almost for the whole universe. It was, well, we need to introduce more stones. We're building up to this Thanos thing. We got to get the time stone in there, and it was a real it was a real CGI mess in certain parts, but then in other parts it was really cool looking. So it's hard to just totally dismiss it like a Quantumania, like, oh, it just was muddy shit. There were some cool scenes, especially in the mirror dimension, but overall, it was like, I'm going to go with decent, because it just felt like a box check. Like, we need to get this character and this stone in here. So we need to make this movie just to get it going, so the universe makes sense when we get to Endgame.
Yeah, and again, shitty Marvel villain. Mads Mikkelsen in this
Oh,
is
yeah.
just evil bad guy with this horrible cheesy war
waste.
paint. The character design is so fucking bad. It's like if you said to a 14-year-old art student, draw a bad guy, he would draw Mads Mikkelsen in this movie. It's so bad. He's so wasted.
I get asked by a
He's
13-year-old
probably
son, and he'd be like, yeah, if his eyes were like cracked, it'd be cool. That's what a 13-year-old would say. Absolutely.
Mads Mikkelsen has probably got to be the most wasted actor in the
Yeah.
entire MCU. Like, who else is there? Yeah,
well,
I mean, with this
just
film,
decent, right?
well,
Yeah, it's decent.
with
Him and Sir Ben. It's
Yeah.
real
based on what you guys are saying, it would be decent. Chat is kind of leaning towards decent. I would put it in mid, so bottom of decent is probably the place to put it.
Yeah, and I think that's right. If I look at those three movies, Ant-Man, Hulk, sorry, Ant-Man, Thor, and Doctor Strange, they're about equal in quality. So that's very accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. Guardians Volume 2. Let's try and speed through this one. I want to pick up the pace a little bit. So, anything remarkable? Is it better than the first? I guess
No,
is the
I
question.
can't remember it, so there you go. That'll make things go faster.
Yeah.
It is absolutely not better than the first, but James Gunn does actually put in quite a lot of work to give every single character in this movie a really solid character arc. Even characters like Nebula, who is just evil villain in the first one. Yondu gets a lot in this movie. But as for the specifics of the plot, oh, that's right, you got the whole ego thing. Yeah, that didn't really do much for me, but everything relating to, I guess, the central characters themselves, I thought was very solid. I would probably put it in decent.
Yeah, it feels like a decent would be, that feels like an appropriate level, I think. So we'll chuck it in there, I think.
I think solid decent is all right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember enjoying the film. There's some good chuckles. The camaraderie between them is good.
Yeah.
Did introduce
CGI
Mantis,
good.
who I find very annoying, so I take points off for that. She was all right for the first scene or two, and then instantly I was done with her halfway through that movie. I didn't want to see her anymore.
Okay. All right. And that takes us on to Spider-Man Homecoming. Well, thoughts?
I haven't seen this.
Am I right on the timeline, Greg? I think this is still...
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I don't know that I could give it a classic, but maybe a nearly great, maybe a classic. I don't know. Vulture to me is one of the best villains they've ever had. I think he's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's an excellent villain. He's menacing. He actually feels like a threat. He makes sense. It ties into kind of this sort of the Civil War theme that they were going for of they hadn't gotten quite to the what if the heroes were actually the bad guys. They hadn't gotten that far, but they were exploring like what are the consequences of heroism and how does it affect the common man. And I don't know, Vulture was fantastic, and I just love Michael Keaton. It's nearly great at a minimum, but I'd go classic. It's fantastic.
I pretty much agree. I personally would say that this is one of my favorite Marvel movies, and this is probably one of the most controversial things I've ever said. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I like this more than the Raimi films.
Well, the Despotinians and Despotites in the chat are more sort of mid-ish. They're kind of meh about this even. So I don't know. Is this going to be another overrule from the chat? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I feel like it's not a classic because it is definitely a lot more of like a controversial pick than some of the others that we put in classic. So nearly great. I feel like that's fair. The whole he's got to earn the suit thing, and the fact that I really appreciate that it is very low stakes movie. It's probably the lowest stakes Marvel movie that exists, and I think that is so appropriate for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, coming after Multiverse of Madness, where you're opening up infinite, almost incomprehensible stakes, maybe it was a good film to have slated for release then, to kind of as a kind of a palate cleanser. So are we going nearly great for this?
I think on average, probably, yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. I mean, think 16 movies in, and they've still not produced anything trash. That's really impressive.
It is impressive.
No, we're going to get there soon. My Spidey sense is telling me that. Yeah,
they're terrible ones. Their duds were just duds. And if you look at these, they're duds in comparison to what were really good movies, or a really good movie had come before it, or something. And so even the bad ones are just bad by comparison. I mean, they're still okay by themselves.
Now, how low can we go with this? Is this going to be dud, or is this going to be trash?
This is going to be another controversial one.
Nearly great.
I'll start off controversial because I actually like this movie. I think this is the best Thor movie easily. And Kate Blanchett is really good in it. She's kind of hammy and over the top. She's very pantomime, but it works for me. I think the humor, this is where Marvel is beginning to jump the shark in terms of its humor, but it's still just about works. It's still, it's kind of cartoonish humor, but it's still something you can just chill out and have a good time with, I think. And the one thing I fucking hate about it is Tessa Thompson. She's just an awful character. This was
at a time when she was ruining everything. She ruined Men in Black. She ruined what's the film about the cowboys who were robots and stuff?
Yes, she's trying to, like, I don't know, ape Clint Eastwood or something. She's trying to do this 1,000-yard stare, and she's fucking awful at it. She's a bad actress. She has no range. She's trying to do the whole what do you call it? The aloof cool chick thing. That's her shtick, and it's boring. It doesn't work. It's not compelling. So she's awful. And then at the end, when she becomes king, not queen, king, because she's just that fucking masculine. It's like she's a slaver. She captures people. She sells them to be killed in arena as slaves. She's a morally bankrupt piece of shit. If this movie had any heart, Thor would cave her fucking head in with a hammer at the end, and then it would be a great movie. So that really annoys me.
Should have given her the noble sacrifice.
I still think it's mid. I love Loki in it. He's hilarious. And really enjoyed Jeff Goldblum. Or Goldblum, however you pronounce it. So for me, still, I would say this is decent. Yeah, decent movie.
Does this have Taika Waititi's voiced rock creature character?
Yes, really this is where that was introduced.
Really good.
Yeah, he was great.
Look, I think when Pilgrim Song comes on in the beginning and then again at the end on the rainbow, just those two scenes alone, it's one of the few in recent memory really good uses of Zeppelin when we're not trying to sell fucking cars in the desert or whatever the hell they're doing with Zeppelin usually. But I'm nearly great to classic on this one. I think this was right up there with Guardians of the Galaxy, where we're riding the line of humor, but with enough action that it was really cool and it was really stylish. And you have to remember, this is one of the first. What's the name for the? I shouldn't be drinking. Futuristic retro or whatever, retrofuturism. They were doing the old, Flash Gordon style thing, and it was novel at the time. It was really neat. They worked the soundtrack in. This one I think is fit. They learned all the wrong lessons, and Taika got a humongous head and fucked every movie after this. But this was excellent. I mean, Tessa was the only poor part. Everybody else was great. Idris Elba was fantastic in here. You got Carl Urban, just excellent comedy.
Carl Urban was fucking
all of it was
awesome in that.
fantastic.
All right. Well, Random, bring us through.
Fuck this, Greg. Convinced me. I'm moving it to nearly great.
Okay, fair enough. I'll just say very quickly what I think. I think it is very funny. I think that it is probably the most fun Marvel movie. It really does not take itself very seriously. I really love the visual style. Very quippy. I just purely subjectively really enjoy watching actors take the piss out of themselves. So when you have Anthony Hopkins playing Loki disguised as Anthony, like that kind of thing is gold. I think it's fantastic. But narratively, I think the film is bleh. I just don't care. I just watch it because it makes me laugh. I would say decent. You guys are going nearly great. Let's stick it in nearly great.
Okay. Nice. Okay, and that takes us to Black Panther. Okay. Everyone loved it when it came out. This was supposed to be a cultural moment, remember?
This was the first Marvel movie.
And not to sound like every CNN host for the past 15 years, but this movie is really fucking racist. Like, it's actually shocking when you watch it today. It's depicting Africans. They run around with spears. They beat their chests like gorillas. They make this dumb sort of savage noise.
They elect their leader through a trial by combat.
Their politicians wear fucking animal skins and tend to sheep. It's just the most culturally chauvinistic trash. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible. Like the way they depict Africans in this. It's just fucking racist, man. It is.
And isn't their economy based off something which literally sort of comes out of the ground, which has nothing to do with like their intellectual skills? I don't know.
It is, yes. This movie is shit. What I was going to mention is that this is the first Marvel movie that won an Oscar that was not for one of the technical categories. It won like 3 Oscars for like, more serious Oscars. It completely changes exactly how the Black Panther works that was set up in Civil War. The first half of the movie doesn't need to happen because it turns out that the villain, who has possibly the most hilarious name in the entire MCU, Mr. Killmonger, who Mungers kills, he could have just turned up in Wakanda, but he could have just arrived there. He didn't need to do his whole plan with Andy Serkis. He could have just started the movie halfway in. You have the whole fact that Wakanda itself is a completely unbelievable. It's not even a stereotype. It's like an amalgamation of things that just do not make any sense.
Yeah.
So I fundamentally do not believe it at all. However, it was dodgy visual effects aside, because a bunch of the visual effects artists had to go and work on Infinity War. It is generally a good-looking movie, and it is generally a very well-acted movie. So if you just watch it, you'll probably be like, yeah, that was fine. But narratively, I think it's garbage.
Soundtrack's good.
I mean, the lead character was endearing. Everyone loves him. He was great. Right?
Yeah.
Perfectly cast. Come on, chat. You need to lift your game. We need some answers here. Where's this going?
All right, chat.
I'd
I
go.
want you to promote this from Squalid. I wouldn't call it Squalid Trash. I think there's some entertaining stuff here. I like Andy Serkis. There's not much else. I do really like Michael B. Jordan. I think he's one of the best actors of his generation. If you've seen Sinners, you'll know what I mean. And he was terrific in this. So for me, this is a solid dud. I cannot promote it today. It's too messy. I wouldn't call it trash. It's not Squalid cinematic trash. It's just a dud.
I still want to go mid. I think like as a movie, it's hard to look past the Coogler-isms, just the constant Coogler nonsense. Like at the end when Michael B. Jordan is saying, throw me in the ocean with my ancestors, and to an African, which raises all kind of weird questions. Like, why didn't Wakanda stop the slave trade? And then they didn't really do anything with Eric's mom, which later on Coogler said on the commentary that she was in prison, that they were going to break her out. But I guess they just dropped that because the whole like America bad racist and also Wakanda bad and slavery bad, but Wakanda allowed slavery and we're going to take over the whole world based on race. Like all of it was so messy. It was Coogler just wanted to have every race message imaginable. And it was a nightmare. But if you look past all that dumb crap and on all of the fucking jerking off in the media of how important and, stunning and brave the movie was, I still think it's like a upper mid, lower decent. Like it's just, it's got a good soundtrack. It's stylish. God, I hate saying this.
Okay.
If you're not super critical and you turn your brain off a little bit.
Hey, Greg, do you know who you're speaking to here?
All right.
I understand what Greg is saying. There are
Yeah.
lots of really fun set pieces that you can just stuff some popcorn in your face, say that was all right, go home, and forget about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Greg, where are you placing it, Greg? That's where I need to know.
I'd go with mid. I was gonna say
Okay.
decent, but I'll go with mid.
I'm going with I'm going to go with low decent. So it's up to you, Randall.
I would be saying dud. I would be with Despot here. I think this is the worst Marvel movie until this point. But there's a lot of people in chat who are saying it's better than that. So I think based on that, we put it in mid.
Okay, fair enough. Was it this film or was it the sequel where people on social media, like African American people, were saying, like black people should go see this first, like they should have priority in going to the cinema and stuff like that?
And this was a time where I actually fully endorsed the race identitarians. Like there were black people. There was one woman, she had these gigantic glasses. She was hilarious. She was saying, if you go to see that on opening weekend, you can sit outside that cinema and guard it. Make sure no white people enter that cinema. Really funny. And I fully endorsed
that you're an ally. You had that thing with the nails. The nails were on fleek. If you think that you're an ally,
I agree. White people should not have seen Wakanda Forever opening weekend. Black people shouldn't have seen it opening weekend or second weekend or third weekend or fourth weekend. just nobody should see it.
Okay, now we're in the big leagues.
Right. Shall I jump in on this?
Go ahead.
Infinity War has some of the best scenes in the MCU. As a movie, though, it is definitely not as tight as something like the first Avengers movie. I think that whoever came up with the idea to put Rocket Raccoon and Thor and partner them up, I think that person needs a pay rise because I love all of their scenes. I think the ending is good, except that it's just so obvious that they were going to bring everyone back. Because of the various setups that they've had with like multiverse sort of flirting with that in Doctor Strange. They definitely have not killed everyone off, which meant it wasn't as emotionally effective as it could have been. I think the biggest thing that I can compliment about this film is who expected that Thanos, big purple CG man, from Marvel, who are not known for making good villains, when they have been kind of hinting at this guy, but never really showing him. I think he's briefly in the first Guardians movie, expecting that he's going to come out and be hands down the best Marvel villain that they have made. I don't think that's controversial to say. Thanos in Infinity War is a fantastic villain, and he is the reason why the movie works. So much of the movie is from his perspective, and they actually managed to do it while having, 35 heroes in the movie?
This movie absolutely fucking crushes. It is one of the best movies of the 2010s. I know that's not saying much because the 2010s was a dreadful decade for movies, but in a bad decade for movies, this was one of the best. It's the best Marvel movie in my opinion. Like, it's not my favorite. My favorite's first Avenger, Captain America: First Avenger, but this is, I think, objectively the best Marvel movie.
This really fixed the Ultron problem, and they had twice as many characters as Ultron and pulled it off. And just that is an impressive feat that they were able to contain it all without it feeling too rushed and too all over the place. But it is the beginning of the top heaviness of the MCU, and it just starts to weigh itself down, and it expands too much after Endgame especially, and it just becomes unwieldy. But this was impressive that they pulled it off.
Oh, yeah. If Endgame had been as good as this, then we would probably be having a very different conversation now, because I feel like the MCU would have probably gone in a very different direction.
Well, I mean, you use the word saga, because when you're watching this film, you're in the middle of a cinematic saga, and those don't happen very often. And this was like peak cultural events. This is like Comic-Con through the roof. This is like online discourse through the roof. Extraordinary stuff.
And given the amount of elements and characters in the movie, it's amazing that they didn't get anything really wrong. Like we were talking about how in Ragnarok, Tessa Thompson is just this fucking stink bomb that kind of ruins every scene she's in. Take her out of the movie, just get rid of her, and you've got a classic. There's none of that in Infinity War. There's nothing I can think of that really stinks that movie up. Not like no single element.
Okay, well, let's go around the
No.
horn. So, Greg, where are you going to place it?
You know what? I was thinking either nearly great or classic. I think you've talked me into classic. I'm there for classic.
Despot?
Classic.
Oh, random?
I would say nearly great, but chat is saying classic. So slap it in classic.
Yeah, I think it would be obscene if this didn't go into classic, because come on, think it through. All right. Okay, excellent.
It's all downhill from here.
So
Just about, yeah.
I think we can repeat Random's challenge from earlier about Thor: Dark
me.
World.
Greg,
don't remember
I give up
anything
this
from
challenge.
movie.
I think I've seen this twice. I can't remember a fucking thing about this movie.
No idea what
Yeah,
happened.
neither can I.
Maybe I've never.
Wasn't there
even seen it.
was there a cool shot about a choo-choo train in the trailer? I think that's
No, that's
idea.
the first one. That was the first one.
Okay.
So the only thing I remember about this movie is that Lawrence Fishburne is trying to help a lady called Ghost, who is kind of phasing in and out of reality for some reason.
Oh, this is where Ghost came in. That's right.
Yes, but I that's it. That's all I've got. I can't remember anything else about this movie.
Is this the first instance of just around the edges of girl bossery starting to creep in? Would this be the door opening for that?
Getting there.
Maybe,
Getting there a little bit.
and then freaking Jack Torrance, Captain Marvel, just broke that fucker right in. Saw a little crack and kicked her in.
The chat seems to be going dud. The highest is mid. No one's saying cinematic trash. Everyone's just saying, yeah, dud. It's just such a dud movie.
I can't imagine anyone hating this movie. Like, you compare this to whatever the newest one is called, Quantumania. Like, that movie is trash. That movie is absolutely going in trash. This one is just like, I don't know what happened. You watch it and you're like, it was images on a screen. Like,
well, is this going to be mid or dud, do you think? Surely mid. Like, it's not a horrible film. It's just So surely just pure definition of mid.
I feel like the fact that none of us can tell you anything about it means it has to go in dud, right?
Yeah, right, that's mid.
All right. But doesn't dud sort of imply some sort of unpleasantness, whereas this was just
But all right, so let's count because the next one's Captain Marvel. I think we all know where that's going. So we've got 6, 9, 13, 16, 20 movies. So we're 20 movies in, and Marvel still has not produced anything that is trash. That's quite an achievement.
That's pretty good going. All right. Well, let's see how we go then, because I have to go to. Oh my god, I have to go to the next here. So here we go. Captain Marvel.
See, I tried to watch this movie for my Marvels video in 2023, and I fucking couldn't. I couldn't finish it.
Like, no doubt.
It was so boring. It was so bad. And I will say right now, and I'll ask the chat. Chat, I'm asking you, and I'm asking the panel. Who was the worst Marvel casting decision? Because for me, it is hands fucking down Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. She is just dreadful. So go ahead.
Given the importance of the character moving forward, or what would have been the importance of the character, you know, what they were clearly trying to do, they were trying to position her as like instrumental in taking down Thanos in Endgame and then taking over leading the Avengers. And the only reason why that didn't happen is because no one likes Brie Larson and the Marvels flopped. So yeah, absolutely. If this character had been as much of a hit as Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, completely different story.
Well, this was a weird time in Disney, because I don't remember what year the second Star Wars movie came out, but they were flirting with this juxtaposition of basically toxic masculine traits, and they were trying to put them on women, and sometimes even have, like, I hate to use this word, feminine coded whatever visual. So they wanted, the long blonde hair. They tried to put her in a suit. They gave her some shape. She still walked like a dude. Like, she walks like a freaking rectangle. It's ridiculous, but acts like a man. Like, if you replaced her with any other guy and had her read the same lines, you'd be like, wow, what a toxic piece of shit. And Admiral Holdo was the other thing that they were doing at that time, where they were trying to do this, like, ooh, we're mixing it up. She's wearing pastel and she has pink purple hair, but she's an absolute asshole, putting that fly boy in his place. And it clearly just did not work out at all. This is so incongruous to the viewer that they're trying to do this this ridiculous subversion and this I'm just a girl with no doubt playing in the background. It was peak. This might be peak woke right here. I don't know. Might be worse than the Ghostbusters.
The hurling of Jude Law, the subverting of those expectations and gender stuff, and she's
she
kind of
attacks the guy
overpowered.
because he tries to flirt with her.
Yeah,
the
this has
Don.
all the tropes of
Right.
masculinized femininity. The trope of she doesn't need a character arc essentially because she was always brilliant and powerful, and she just had to realize or figure it out through the plot that she was. So all these tropes started to come in. The stupid finale where she's super powerful like a god at the end. So all the problems coming in.
That's the main thing I despise about this movie is that she doesn't actually do anything that can be attributed to her personality. She accidentally gets her powers, and then she wins in the end because she realizes how amazing she is. It really is that simple.
This was when Feige was saying that she was going to like lead Phase 4, like she was going to be the star of the MCU.
Well, so interesting. So
in the chat, people saying dud dud dud. Okay, I've only done this twice in my YouTube career. I am invoking despotic infallibility. This movie is squalid cinematic trash. It is nowhere near.
Jeez.
Oh, we lost him.
It was so bad on his internet. He's invoking.
Well, he's kind of laid down the law.
He's invoking Jeff Probst's
I don't know.
invulnerability.
Because, I mean, on a technical level, it's a good-looking film in aspects. It's still got the coherency of stuff, but it's not a pleasant film to watch, is it? It never feels good while you're watching.
The plot is
so bad. Even if the movie was competently directed, she's such an awful screen presence. She's so wrong for this. She's not. She came out of the film. She could do drama, but this was
she came out of this from Room. She won an Oscar for Room as a
heartwarming. She can do dramatic acting, but Jesus Christ, she cannot do action. Like she was so wrong for this. It should have been Katie Sackhoff. Katie Sackhoff could have pulled this off.
That would have been great. Yeah, I agree. So, Greg, where do you put it in the tier?
I'm gonna go with dud, because if I'm looking back at that time, I could give it the benefit of the doubt that they were just trying something different, trying to spice it up, because people were calling it formulaic at that time. So I could give it the benefit of the doubt to say dud if I'm trying to be generous, but I also wouldn't balk at it being trash.
I'd go dud. So I guess we go over to you, Random. You've got to be the arbiter here.
I would say it's trash. I think the character is trash. The plot is trash. The world building is trash. There is nothing in the movie that works. The only good thing I can say about Captain Marvel is that it is better than most of what is about to come.
I believe you two thought this was a dud. Like, what the fuck? Where are your standards, lads?
I don't know, like a benefit of the doubt there. Like
the benefit of the doubt. It's garbage.
All right. Did the chat go with you? Did the chat bend to your will?
The chat's kind of dud or terrible trash. It's basically somewhere between dud and squalid twin amount of trash. It's a pointless argument. Like, how is it total trash or just a little trash? Like, who fucking cares?
How big is the final trash?
All right, back in the big leagues. Did they stick the landing? Is it a classic?
No.
Oh, man.
There are parts of Endgame that are really good. There are individual scenes and individual payoffs that in isolation, they are really, really, really good. The problem is that this is when the MCU became more concerned with setting up 17 different TV shows. And it also introduced time travel because Tony Stark invented time travel overnight. It didn't character assassinate Thanos, but the problem is that they defeat Thanos in the first 15 minutes, and the other Thanos is not the same guy, and he is just evil man who wants to blow up the universe, which it kind of shits on what we had originally, and the fact that they didn't continue the character.
I love that people point out that in the end, he doesn't know who anyone is. And I've seen the pictures of them all attacking, and he's like, I don't know who the fuck you people are. Why you're so mad at me? It's so good.
But as a popcorn cinema cultural experience, people going into the cinema, it's rowdy, it's full of exciting energy, everyone's having a good time, it's a shared collective experience, the likes of which is so rare nowadays. So can we factor that in?
I remember like girls crying in the cinema when Tony Stark snaps and dies.
No,
So
spoilers.
there was definitely moments that were brilliant, really brilliant moments, and then obviously the worst aspect of it, without a doubt, was Captain Marvel. Should not ever have been in this movie. She shouldn't have been in that scene where Thor has to walk up to her and tell the audience how great she is. You know, I like this one. That was horrendous. And then she comes in and Deus Ex Machinas at the end in what should have been Hulk's fight. That was dreadful. She
does the same thing at the start. She rescues Tony and Nebula right at the beginning.
I mean, she nerfs this movie even worse than Tessa Thompson nerfs Ragnarok. It's just it's awful. But the movie is conceptually bad. Of course, they were going to bring them all fucking back. They make too much money not to bring back. But still, it doesn't change the fact that it's conceptual. It's bad from. Also, it doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. Like, first of all, the snap killing half the people. If you kill half the people with a snap, you don't kill 50% of people. You kill like 60 or 70%, because if a mother is at home with her baby and she gets snapped out, the baby dies too, right? If a pilot gets snapped, everybody in the plane dies. How many people do you think are going to die in traffic accidents after this? It's so fucking dumb. And also the blip. There's a lot of problems with the blip too, like when everybody gets brought back. But I think Marvel know that this is so broken, this concept, that they never really examined it, which was a bit of a shame. But yeah, this movie's a mess. It's all over the place, and it gets very generic at the end, where they just have two giant armies run at each other, and then of course they have this. If you want to talk about the true birth of the MCU, it's at the third act, when you've got all the girl bosses coming together to have the girl boss scene, and it is it's one of the cringiest moments in cinema history, and it was like the horseman of the She-Man of the horseman of the MCU apocalypse was that scene.
Right?
I just remember watching that scene. Sorry, go for it, Greg.
Oh, I just appreciate if you do me a solid call at the MC Uterus for me. Help me with that one. And I also forgot about Fat Thor. Good old Fat Thor. That was a great moment there.
Grim.
Okay, so Greg, around the horn, where are you placing it?
I'd still give it like a mid to decent. Like, it's got these flaws, but it's the cap of this big. It's hard for me to be too harsh on it, because it's the ending of this big ride that we were all on. It was this big cultural moment, and it had more potential. But I still would give it like the mid to decent, because you get the big giant battle at the end. It was really cool. It was, well, I want Despot to say it because he says it better, but it threw out a lot of plot, but it was cool.
All right.
I'll give it. I agree with Greg. I think it has its moments, and considering how much worse things got after this, I would give it a mid. It was an entertaining movie. So mid for me.
I can't believe this. Random. I mean, there's be cultural sacrilege to put this at mid. It has to be a decent film, right? For its cultural.
Well, I don't know, because I would personally be putting it in a dud, but for pure watchability, I would agree mid, because I do agree that it is a very entertaining movie. But then we also have the fact that this was the culmination of the prior 15 years of storytelling. Like, this really should have been, like, imagine how effective this film would have been if it had been like the best movie in the MCU. Like, this is where all the biggest chat is basically all saying mid. So yeah.
And it is, when you look at the duds like Iron Man 2, Thor, like, I'll never watch those pieces of shit again. And if I was watching them, I'd turn them off. But I could watch Endgame. I could sit through it.
All right, well, this is
I like seeing Steve get his dance at the end. I liked that. That was a nice closure moment there.
Okay, so we're in the homeward stretch now. We're sort of, I think, pivoting into what feels like more like modernish territory, contemporary-ish kind of stuff. So that's perfectly charming, wouldn't you say?
I can't remember very much about it, but I do remember that I really liked Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and I thought that the twist and how they kind of integrated the Tony Starkness with like the glasses and the drones and the technology, I thought that was effectively done. Although if I watched it again, it wouldn't surprise me if it didn't make any sense, because I remember it being a little bit complicated. So
we're all thinking mid-decent in the chat. So
I would personally go mid, because I enjoyed watching it, I guess.
Okay. Well, let's hustle through this one.
I'm going dud, because I just think the whole plot was just like he destroyed a real hero so he could play hero with his drones, but he didn't actually like we got to prep for an Avengers level threat, but he was not able to do Avengers level shit. So it didn't make any fucking sense.
I'm going to be a bit harsher on this one. I can barely remember it, but I do remember that Spider-Man's friends, Zendaya and the fat kid, are in it too much. The fat kid's there for comic relief, and they go way too. He just gets too much screen time, and they go overboard with the comic relief with him, and it's a bit of a mess. The plot's a bit of a mess. I can't remember it that much, but I just remember it being a kind of a boring, shitty movie, and that's it.
Okay. I would go dud because Zendaya is super annoying as hell in the film. It doesn't make any cultural impact really. So where would you go? Random.
Chat's saying mid. You guys are all saying dud. I mean, it's going to be mid or dud then. Let's go dud.
Okay. I'll give you one last chance to think it through, random. Look at where it's placed. Like,
I reckon if Random saw it again, he'd think it was a dud.
Yeah. This is the thing. I believe you. Right now, I would personally say mid, but I do believe you. So we'll go dud.
Okay, that sounds fair.
All right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. So, what do we got? Black Widow next. All right,
That is trash.
I'm gonna keep my criticism very simple. I watched half of this. It struck me as a really lazy, shitty knockoff of the Bourne movies. And this was at a time when the Bourne movies were already they had become trite and cliche. The whole shaky cam, bad guy breaks into an apartment and tries to kill the good guy, and the good guy has to jump out a window. That had all been done. This movie just feels like you took the Bourne movies, shoved it into a blender with some girl boss slop, and that's it. That's Black Widow. I could not make it past the halfway point. This movie is so convoluted and so fucking boring. It's a dreadful movie. This is squalid cinematic trash, hands down.
Wow.
Yeah, agreed. This is bottom 3 Marvel movies for me. I think it is awful in basically every conceivable way.
Greg, any contrarian approach there?
No, I wish I could. I mean, I could give it a dud. I could say it's not trash. I just think I think this was supposed to go where Captain Marvel was, but it got pushed out, and it just it was past its time. She was already dead. I mean, this is the definition of generic right here. It's phoned in. It feels like a contract obligation, which they then broke and fucked Scarlett Johansson because they threw it on streaming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, that was nice, easily dispatched. No one liked this film.
I did.
This movie is very funny.
I like this one.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is mid. I watched 2/3 of it recently. I still haven't finished it, but I was enjoying it, and I'm not in love with the characters, but it was nice. I like the opening scene where Shang-Chi's father falls in love with this girl when he's fighting her. That was nice. I thought, that touched me.
This was one of the few times I didn't mind Aquafina. I thought she was all right in this one.
I'll give this one a solid mid.
Yeah.
Mid, dud, mid. Yeah, mid.
I would go dud. I don't think it's good. I find it funny because of how bad it is.
Wow.
The whole climax with them fighting like a giant ghost dragon was just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, where? Yeah.
But can you have your arm twisted? Because there's a heavy dud thing going on in the chat.
Everyone seems to be saying dud, which means we're 2 duds to 2 mids. So that makes it your choice, Echo, then.
Okay. I'm going to be a little bit generous and say dud. I don't think it was bad.
I think it's
no, it's mid. It's mid, right? It's a mid.
I guess
it's better than the shite in dud. Like, I would far rather watch Shang-Chi than any of that shit that is in the dud category.
I think you just got to pretend that it's not in the MCU, which I guess isn't fair to the rankings, but like it doesn't really have any connection to the MCU. And if you just think of it as like a fun kung fu flick, it's a good time. I think it's a good time. And just don't believe that it ever needs to be part of anything else. The music is very fun in this one. I like that a lot.
Good fight scene in the bus, right? Or the train.
Yeah, that was a really good fight scene. Very very athletic and very well choreographed.
Yeah. All right. So it's definitely mid. It's the middest of mid. Oh my God, we're in toxic trash territory.
Right. This could be the most boring Marvel movie. This thing is. I haven't used this term yet so far. This is unwatchable. If I was like a Disney executive and I got a private screening of like a first cut screening of this, I would turn to the fucking director and say, "Lad, you cannot release this. This is unreleasable. It's unwatchable. It's so fucking boring. This is just pure brand damage. This is an appalling movie.
Yeah, this is even the
Dreadful
color
pacing,
scheme
far
and
too many
lighting and
characters.
aesthetic looks terribly washed
Ugh.
out. Shocking film. I don't know how it got made
Awful.
or why it got made. Shocking film.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's a great example. Like if you're studying film or something, and you want to look at an example of a movie that was released in an unreleasable state, The Eternals. Also,
Yeah.
just not enough action. Very, very badly paced. Far too many scenes of people standing in boring-looking rooms talking.
Yeah.
Like fuck me, that's most of the movie. It's an
I
absolutely appalling movie.
I find it very funny that they were clearly setting them up to be like part of the Avengers or to be like an alternative to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and not one of them has been mentioned since that movie.
Yeah. And it started the incongruous idea of the gigantic thing sticking out of into the
Well,
Oh yes, the
hemisphere.
thing
Which
that would
makes
end all
sense.
life on Earth.
It's full
Yeah.
of adamantium, obviously.
Yeah, I think that movie was actually that was one of the first DEI disasters where they put a major production in the hands of someone who was not qualified, not experienced, and not competent because of her, in this case, her immutable characteristics. I think she was an Asian woman, so they said, "Yeah, let's get her into direct." And sure enough, it was a fucking disaster. So this was
I
a
almost feel
DEI
that,
disaster, The Eternals.
I feel a little bit sorry for Black Widow now. Does it belong with those two? Like,
Yes,
it's
it
not...
absolutely does. It's
I
fucking
think it
awful.
does. It's awful.
Oh. Jeez, guys are rough. Okay, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Good film, fun film, exciting film,
This-
dynamic film, kinetic film.
This movie's
The best-
ass.
Yeah,
This
the
is
best
one that
part
gets
of this
worse every time you
movie.
see it.
The best part of this movie, the best parts of this movie are the characters that were not written by the MCU. It's what they did with the Mark Webb and Sam Raimi characters. And I think generally that was good, but this film has a lot of serious problems. I don't think it can...
Bacon
It's
Salty does make a good
entertaining,
point.
but it is very problematic.
Here's a very brief rundown of its problems. It makes no sense. So the ending is completely broken. So, for example, does Doctor Strange erase everybody's memories, or does he also erase the physical evidence that Spider-Man exists? Like the little shrine in his high school is just one example. Also, he commits a crime against humanity. You can't just take people's fucking memories away. That is a crime against humanity because he's destroyed their psyche. Like, what replaces that memory? Like Zendaya, does she remember, losing her virginity, or is that just a blank spot in her memory? Like, it's a crime against humanity. It's a psychic crime. So it completely destroys the morality of Doctor Strange. The premise doesn't even make sense, where he goes and he tries to get Strange to cast this spell. It fucked up Doc Ock, because Doc Ock just becomes pussified in it. And it's a mess. It's a big pile of nostalgia slop. And when you go back and watch it now, you just think, fuck me, why did I like that? It's a mess. It's a horrible mess. This one's a pure dud for me. Some entertainment value, but pure dud.
Is the rickety bridge a genius here? I'm struggling with this comment.
I think it's better than it is. It's not a garbage movie, but this is a pure dud. I wouldn't even call this mid. There's so many problems with it. It's full of plot holes. It's an utter fucking mess, and it's
okay. Where are you putting it, Greg?
This is a mid to dud because it's a direct extension of the Mysterio plotline, which I thought was stupid. So I'm already just hating the fact that we're even following up on that dumb crap. So I'm already down there. It's a dud.
Brandon?
I would be saying high or low. I would say low mid. So, what is chat saying? Chat seems to there's people saying it's great and decent.
Yeah, I know.
It's difficult. I mean, I guess low mid then.
It's going to end up in mid. It's going to end up in mid.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, it's watchable. It's fine.
It reminds me of Endgame in that there are a lot of like serious structural problems, but at the same time there are bits that are entertaining to watch. It's just that in Endgame they are straight up better executed than in No Way Home.
Man, the mid dud and squalid cinematic trash is certainly catching up. Here we go. We're making good time. Here we go. Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. This is probably the worst movie in the MCU.
I won't say this is squalid cinematic trash because... Okay, yeah, it's squalid cinematic trash. I can't think of a reason why it's good.
Look at the chat. The chat's going ballistic.
Visual
Just
style
no trash,
is
trash mid. Oh my god, chat does not like this film.
I don't think my 17-year-old is at home, but if she were here, she would. I think she would say some. She would say some really awful. I think she'd start swearing. I think she hated this movie so fucking because Scarlet Witch is she liked that character a lot. She loved her in WandaVision, and then this, she felt like this was a personal fuck you right to her and her favorite character. It was so bad. She just all of a sudden is a murderess, and I would love to know from people that didn't see the show.
I didn't.
What? So okay, see, I love when Random's on because he doesn't watch Disney Plus. So like, what did you think when she just had kids all of a sudden?
I assumed that they invented them, and I also assumed that someone sawed into her brain and turned up the villainometer, and then she just went insane in her first scene and became the villain of the movie.
Do you know what it is?
I had no idea.
Like she's going to go destroy the universe and steal this book to become a mother, and I'm looking at her the whole time thinking, love, there are easier ways to become a mother. I can even help you out if you really want. It's so fucking dumb. Is she sterile? Like, why is she doing this? Like, just, you know, you don't even need to put on some nice clothes. Just go to any fucking club, stand there, and some guy will come up and offer to buy you a drink, probably some loser. You can take him home and he can donate what needs to be donated, and there you go, you've got some kids. This is not hard. You don't need to go and destroy the universe to become a mother. It's so fucking
okay. Well,
dumb.
I need an answer. So, is this going to be squalid cinematic
trash? Everyone, including chat, is saying it's trash. Anyone not saying it's trash is wrong. It's probably the worst movie in the MCU.
Fucking awful. And that's we didn't even get into America Chavez, who is just a textbook diversity insert. But let's move on.
Brutal. Okay. Thor: Love and Thunder.
This is Ragnarok. If Taika Waititi was just took all the bits that he cut out of Ragnarok and then made this movie without a script. It has all of the worst parts of Taika Waititi and none of the good bits. I don't
emphatic,
think I laughed once.
Unanimous in the chat there.
Yeah, it's trash. There's no argument otherwise, I don't think. The plot, the central villain's plot. The only good thing is Christian Bale, not the villain, because the villain's plan makes absolutely no sense. Because all the gods have to die because the gods don't care about people, and his plan relies on him kidnapping the Asgardian children so that the gods come and rescue the children because they care about people. That makes absolutely no sense.
So he's the third. He's the third with Kingsley and Mads Mikkelsen, and then Christian Bale. These are great actors who should have stayed so far away from the MCU. It is a crime that they wasted their time on this.
Okay. All right. Heavy on the duds here. Let's see, where am I? So this goes over here. Yep. And that takes us on to Wakanda Forever. I forgot about this film with the guy with the flappy, wingy feet. What's his name again?
The Seaman.
Namor.
Yeah, forgot about that guy.
Here's a quick piece of trivia. Wakanda Forever was the first recipient of the Worst of Woke Award for Worst Movie.
Yeah, that's a prestigious award right there.
It's
Scooter Tart's not messing around.
Is it? I think it's like 7.5 hours long, roughly.
It feels that way. Yeah, God.
Oh god, yeah. Marvel movies have gradually got longer. After Endgame, there's so many of them that are like longer than 2.5 hours, and I don't know why.
Yeah, so you go. I remember this. Speaking about it, that within the space of 2 minutes, you go from Namor being built up as a sympathetic character, he's complex, to my plan is to destroy every human living in the world, and it just goes on a dime. And there's a cool scene where his official
name is Namor the Dickless, because they took away his dick in the movie.
However, honestly, I think all of us should elevate this above trash, because in 21 short days, all four of us are gifted with the Ironheart show. So, well, maybe not Random. I don't think he doesn't have Disney Plus. So I feel like I give it extra points because Disney is just like, here, have these views. Here you go.
I got to talk about this. This is so bizarre. So my next video touches on Wakanda Forever, and it was made at a time when police were being vilified in American media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's when the script was written because of the George Floyd incident. And Ironheart's character introduction, her first major action, she bombs a police roadblock. and then she goes off and celebrates it. Like, she just fucking bombs it. Like, she probably kills a bunch of police, and it's treated as this sort of really fun, awesome moment, and like how awesome she is. It's really bizarre watching it now because you just think back and think, what? She just bombed a bunch of police, but that's where the American culture was at that time. It's really dark when you look at it now.
That's the scene where Namor's henchmen leap off the back of a humpback whale in a city harbor.
Watching. I think I gave up with 30 minutes to go. It's so long and boring. But it's an evil movie. It's disgusting. It's boring as fuck. It presents evil police as villains. It introduces Riri Williams. It is one of the bottom 3 for me. It's an appalling pile of trash.
Shuri is just not a compelling character. She's not a great actress. They could have had Gorilla Guy. He at least has like presence and would have been interesting for that reason. Like, when he comes on, he really owns a scene, and I feel like the Shuri actress, she's very meek and doesn't grab a scene in the way that Chadwick Boseman did, or the way that like a Michael B. Jordan would do.
You know what it's like? It's like replacing James Bond with Moneypenny. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Strange passenger in her own film. I agree.
It reminds me of Galadriel in Rings of Power, in that she demands to be taken seriously, but not in the right way. Like, she is actively like, take me seriously, you know?
Yeah. Well, this obviously would be in the trash. So this would be an interesting. This is 2 trashes in a row, which I think is the first, or have we already reached that milestone?
No, we had MOM and then Love and Thunder. That was 2 in a row, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, zipping through them now. Wait a minute. Have I got these in the right order? Oh, yeah, Greg, I needed you there. You let me down. So that goes there.
I love that there was no discussion.
No discussion at all, yeah. Yeah. We could mention the color scheme. We could mention MODOK, Don't Be a Dick, in that scene.
We could be here for hours talking about the various
hours. Yeah.
Socialist ants. It makes sense.
Squalid cinematic trash is now the biggest category.
Yeah, geez, that was speedy. No, this is interesting. This could be very mid, actually. This could be kind of mid.
Yeah, this is mid for me. This is mid. It's not as good as people were getting on at the time, I think, because Marvel's had been so shit. We saw the same thing with the Thunderbolts. It had been so shit prior to this that when something came along that was mid, people were overreacting. Still a good movie, though. The villain's great. The mad scientist. And there's a lot of fun to be had. This is definitely the best Marvel movie since Infinity War.
Yeah, I guess to mid.
It's easily the worst Guardians movie. That's I don't think up for debate. It's probably my favorite one since Endgame. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot in the plot that just doesn't really make any sense. But the emotionally effective scenes I did find to be emotionally effective because they were, generally speaking, very well done.
It's decent. It's sad because the villain had a lot of potential. This is one of their better villains, but just didn't quite make the mark because he was just so comically evil, and they never showed any sort of advancement that he had achieved. Like, if he had something from these cruel experiments, then you could be like, oh, well, I can sort of see why he thinks he's correct, but he's just torturing animals for nothing, and that's it. That's his character, and it was such a near miss, and it's real sad because that could have elevated the movie a lot. But the flesh planet thing with the squishy sounds, fuck that. Fuck that immediately. Fuck that. I need that movie right there.
Okay. So where? Let me think.
I mean, it sounds like we're saying mid. Chat is all over the place. So I don't. Anywhere from classic to trash is what chat's saying. It's a contentious one.
I think mid. I think we're happy with mid, right? It feels like a mid film.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. We like those characters. We like their dynamics. The aesthetic still holds out. It's a fine watch. It's okay. There's a definition of mid. Still a lot of goodwill for it. Okay, great. And then this takes us to... there's a heavy downpour here, by the way, but I'm sure it's not interfering with the sound too much. The Marvels! All right, what an exquisite cinematic masterpiece that was heartwarming, beautifully directed by a director at the top of her game who didn't need any assistance. An auteur,
incredible chemical between the three leads, and just
lush, beautiful visuals.
Acting by Brie Larson.
Seamless behind the scenes. Brie Larson coming across as heartwarming and endearing. The publicity tour was You know, they were dynamos
And
together that you could feel
tour
their
de
chemistry
force
coming off the screen.
is how I would
And
describe it.
fucking Marvel finally got it right with a great female villain. I can't remember her name or
Finally.
anything about her, but she was incredible too.
I believe Little Platoon dubbed her Darth Bender.
Darth Bender, yeah, she was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like this is going in classic then, right?
The scene
it
where
has
the
to be.
cats run around eating everybody, that was just, I was fucking,
Magnificent.
I actually broke a rib
Mhm.
laughing at that.
Yeah, the wire work was extremely good.
Yeah.
The planet where they go to, and everyone talks and communicates through singing. I mean, that was a laugh riot.
Yeah,
Well,
you know what?
agree.
I'm actually curious. I want to know if anyone in the chat, Calvin says 100 out of 1. Is anyone saying? So we got classic from Fishy Fish. Yeah, the chat is just classic. So put it in classic. We're all
Even
friends here.
kittens couldn't
No.
elevate this shit. You need to put it below trash. It needs to go down lower somewhere.
All right, I'll put it
does-
down
Can we
here
put it, just,
especially.
can we just leave it where like below because it is the worst
Leave
movie
it down,
ever
don't
made.
move it.
Okay, it's got its own.
Does it get extra
special
points
territory.
for Captain Marvel? I think she's responsible for 4 genocides, and I think 3 of them are in that movie.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, we hit rock bottom there, and then ta-da! Am I still right in the timeline, Greg? I feel like I got this correct. This comes after the Marvels. Greg, you're muted.
Greg,
I
we
think.
can't hear you.
Yep,
He does it
good.
once every stream.
Yep, Deadpool Wolverine from.
Okay, good.
I'm clacking
Well,
over here.
interesting.
Going to be another contentious one, I think.
Yeah, classic and nearly great, or has his perspective shifted?
I hate it. I hate
Let's
this
see what the
movie.
chat has to say.
I haven't watched it
Chat.
twice, and I don't.
Oh, Joshua, what are you
to.
talking about?
Let's start with
They
Random.
don't-
Random has strong opinions. Go ahead, Random.
Yeah, go ahead, Randall.
What I was expecting was for them to just be like, we know that this doesn't make any sense, but just we'll set it
Go
up
with it, yeah.
using the Loki TV show that I haven't seen, using their multiversal bullshit rules. We'll set it up,
Mhm.
acknowledge that it doesn't make sense with a fourth wall breaking Deadpool joke,
Oh,
and then we
yes.
will just have fun for 2 hours. That's not what we did. The entire fucking movie is nonsensical rules that contradict themselves repeatedly. They do basically nothing with the Deadpool character. They don't continue him in a natural way from where Deadpool 2 was. And I have no idea why people like this movie so much. It isn't funny. I think I laughed 3 or 4 times during the movie, which for a Deadpool movie, that's criminal. Because honestly, that's what I was there for. And there was a huge chunk of the movie that it just went completely over my head because I hadn't seen Loki. But then since then, I've talked to other people about it, and they were like, oh no, that wasn't in Loki. That was established within this. The whole idea of anchor beings. I was like, well, I guess I don't know what that is because I haven't seen Loki. But it turns out that this movie invented that, and that whole concept doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I'm assuming that Sportcoat Lurking he's meant to say this is dumbass bait for the stupids, but it could also be read as dumb ass bait, like it's going to Roger you senseless with its stupidity. So I think it could go either way. I don't know.
I feel like I got
People-
Rogered senseless by this movie's stupidity.
Does he
I
mean
think
like
people forget
dummy
about
thick
this.
asses? Like he's gonna get the big hipped gals with this?
Yeah, there's a third option there for interpretation.
It's easy to
No.
forget just how fucking boring the first third of this movie
Yeah,
is. It's
absolutely.
far too slow. It takes far too long for them to get together and just fucking get going.
Yeah.
You know, Random touched on the humor. The humor is badly dated and very hammy, and
Oh my God.
you're really feeling that sort of meta humor, fourth wall breaking, millennial quips. It's just, man, this is so
Yeah.
tired. This style of humor.
Yeah.
It's got some fun action sequences, which are very low stakes because neither of the characters can die. It's got too
Mhm.
many cameos, too many like comedy sketches. Like there's just skits, like hippie,
Yeah.
Ad libs.
sort of
Yeah.
vegan Deadpool and then girl Deadpool, and they're just skits for the sake of being skits. It's like the movie stops to have an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Man, it's bad. Then it has a second,
Uh,
third act, which is a problem with modern movies. And in the second, third act,
Mhm.
Professor X's sister decides she wants to destroy the universe because why the fuck not? It's a comic book movie. They always do that.
Mhm.
Jesus, it does have some entertainment value, but it's such a dud, man. This movie
You've
is
got-
such a fucking dud.
You got TVA Tom Wabskin in there. That was kind of fun with McFadden. I don't know that I'm ever going to watch this again, but I remember having fun, and it was such a weird experience because I was with a buddy of mine, and we actually went to the theater, and we were just having a good time, and I was laughing, and we were having fun, And also, part of my brain was like, "This is shit. Like, this is not like as
Yeah,
a
100%.
not
Yeah,
good." And then the other part of my
100%.
brain was like, "Shut the fuck up. We're having a good time. Tighten up, you fucking dick." And
It's the same feeling when you get to the
I don't
bottom
wanna
of your
see it again.
third tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Uh-huh.
It's like like my brain's telling me that I'm enjoying this, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Greg. Exactly. It was that weird schizophrenic thing going on in the mind. You're trying to will yourself into liking it more than you do, but there's some sort of hollowness in there that you don't want to account for. Yeah. It didn't work.
However, if Channing Tatum becomes Gambit because of this, like if we meme Gambit Chambit into existence, then it lowers this movie because of what it did accidentally, because it was funny with him mushmouthing it, but then you have people that are unironically like, "Oh my god, Channing Tatum is so good as Gambit." No, the fuck he is not. No.
Yeah. So I need an answer then. So around the horn, Greg,
Well,
where are you going to play?
So
Mid.
We've got mid dud. I'm saying trash. Absolutely, I think this film is trash. And yeah, well, because I mean, the first Deadpool movie. Forget the jokes. The first Deadpool movie is about something. It is very clearly about something. Deadpool 2 is messy, but it is about something. This film is nonsense from start to finish.
Yeah, true. But the chemistry between them, chemistry lifts it surely into dud. The chemistry between the two co-leads.
Not for me, but I can see why it might.
Jeez, random.
And honestly, like looking at chat, in particular, Despot, your chat overwhelmingly is saying trash as well. So it's definitely not going higher than dud.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Despot, are you saying squalid cinematic trash for Deadpool and Wolverine?
No, I'm saying dud. I think it has
You're
some
saying
entertainment value. There's a couple of jokes land. Like, it's not fucking Black Widow. Like, Jesus. It's watchable at times.
I'm making an executive decision. I can't allow this to go into squalid cinematic trash. It doesn't belong there. I think you guys are just being a little harsh there. So that's going into dud territory. God, even dud feels extraordinary. Far out.
You got to Echo. If you watch it again, you'll see what Random is saying.
If it makes you feel better, I think that Deadpool and Wolverine is better than any of the other films that are in trash. It would be at the top of trash for me.
The top of the trash heap.
Well,
straight back down to the trash heap we go.
It's
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
This is the second worst Marvel movie for me. Second worst.
This
one.
is extraordinary because it feels bloated and empty at the same time. It's extraordinary. This film
so fucking bad, and they're so like you can just see the absolute lack of give a fuck in the MCU. They don't even hide that they're fixing shit, and they also don't even care to get things right the first time. They'll just CGI it. Like in the trailer, I'm sure you guys noticed the weird foot thing in the trailer where he lands and his ankle like breaks or some shit. And then in the movie they're like, "Fuck it, we'll just CGI it out. It doesn't matter. We'll just cut.
Yeah,
that's the scene. We'll just CGI whatever we need." Is the suit vibranium? Is it not? What does he even stand for? None of it makes a single bit of. Why does he even fight the Red Hulk other than just being there when he turns into Red Hulk? Like, what is even the point? Are they nemesis or some shit? No, he's just there. He's like last call at the fucking bar. He's just there, and there's a villain, so he's like, "Fucking, I'll fight him." I guess.
Am I gonna have to put this down with the Marvels? I think it's almost. It probably just stays in squad.
I think this is
just about unrateable. It's that bad. It's Marvel's level bad.
Okay. Oh, but if you had to choose between the two,
the Marvels.
If I went that high, would that be fair?
I think the Marvels is more entertaining than Brave New World because of how bad it is.
Yeah, true.
I can get some like it's so bad it's at times kind of entertaining from the Marvels, whereas Brave New World is just relentlessly fucking boring.
Okay. All right. They both
Brandon,
go down.
You've not seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You should check that out. That's a real treat right there.
Jeez. So we can't separate these two. There's no absolute bottom between those two. If you had to choose.
No, they're on par. They're two of the worst.
They're unrateable
movies ever made. They're just in a league of their own.
Jeez. All right. Okay, and that takes us to Lucky Last. Surely this is going to be dud or mid-ish. It's not bad.
I have not seen this one. This is the only one I have not seen.
This one, it doesn't have the sort of gaping. It does have plot holes, but they're not as egregious and gaping as, say, like the Marvels or Captain Cape shit. But this, for me, is a solid dud. And the problem is just the characters. The characters are very shallow. They're don't really do much with them. They're don't really have character arcs either. Like Bucky is just there; he has no character arc whatsoever. I don't know why I'm supposed to feel anything for Yelena, because she starts out as a murderer for hire, and then okay, I don't care about her the fact that she's depressed. I don't care about her journey. She's already morally bankrupt at the start of the movie, and by the end of the movie, she's still working for the same bitch who put her in that, who was using her as a murderer for hire. So she's still morally bankrupt. There's no character growth here. She's a villain at the start. She's a villain at the end. John Walker, they do basically nothing with. He's just there to be made fun of.
Oh, they tried to.
The dad, he has a few decent moments, but they're basically plagiarized from like the one good scene in Black Widow. And Bob is massively underutilized. It's a shite movie, and I was shocked at how positive the response from the Marvel Shieldom was on this one. This is a solid dud for me, and I think if I were to make a prediction about this, I think people who really like this in the cinema, when they rewatch this, they'll kind of second guess themselves and think, "Why did I like that? That's a bad movie."
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a little more positive. I think I could. I feel like I could sell mid, and I feel like if I'm trying real hard, I might be able to sell decent. It's like to me, it was a solid IGN 7, and the one thing that I liked about it is, well, first of all, I had fun. I like the Red Guardian. I like him and Yelena and their thing. I think John Walker is just he's villainized, and I hate it, and I just want to love it more for him. I'm glad that they just I like the self-awareness that they shot Taskmaster, right? They just were like, fuck it, we don't know what to do with this character. We have no idea. We didn't build this up. Just kill her. And I respect that. I think that this movie had to completely rewrite characters, because this was not the movie that they wanted to make, very clearly. And what I will give them props for is that they did manage to polish a turd. The setup for this movie was non-existent, and they actually managed to make something halfway decent and enjoyable out of it, even though they had to completely right angle some of these characters and just retcon the shit out of them and everything. They were handed absolute garbage and cobbled together some fucking garbage wars, Mythbusters shit to make something halfway passable. And I think it was the best it could have been. I know that doesn't sound great, but they tried to make a stinker, and they ended up with something kind of average. So I'd give it a mid, maybe decent. I had fun.
Okay, well, I'd go mid. So Random, over to you.
Random hasn't seen it, so we'll just put it in.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Taking into account what chat is saying, they're saying trash, so it's either going to be bottom of mid or dud.
I reckon the chat is very hard on it. It's garbage, Greg. I still think it's a dud.
Well, I was leaning towards.
Greg, the setup for this movie is one of the easiest to do.
You don't think it's got some elements of sophistication to it?
Which is why it's not squalid cinematic trash, but I just think this one's such a solid dud, and I think the chat carries it into dud.
All right. Well, that's it. We made it through. So it's certainly a heavy bottom end there towards the second half of mid duds and squalid cinematic trash.
I wish
got out of the gate well,
right before Endgame and then now, and just to see everything just fill in along the bottom.
Yeah. Fuck.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the definitive take on the MCU. I'll even do a cinematic thing so the audience can enjoy and see for themselves. Do you think any last minute changes you'd make? Everything seems to slot into place. No one wants to move Black Widow up or anything like that. No, everything looks pretty locked in, actually. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's it. That's the definitive take. Phew.
All right, should we go through the super chats?
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. There we go. That looks weird, so I'll put back up to there. And no, it's been super general. Oh my god. Okay. Here we go. Bass player 2011 Iffy 4.99. Every Marvel film ranked in 6 seconds. Throws them all in the bin. They're equally shit. Grow up, you virgins. Bass player, come on. I know that Greg at least is not a virgin. out of all of us. So, you know. Then we have M8566, icon of the channel, gifted 10 Greg Owen memberships. Oh, that's great.
Thank you, mate.
Well done, Greg, as the beneficiary of that. Yeah, it just occurred to me that these can get all thrown around like that.
Yeah.
M8566, member for 2 months. Hail random, catch you guys on the replay. Yeah.
Hello.
Definitely will. How do I get out of this multicolored thing? There we go. We have Judy Hops, 5 poons, as Mr. Brown would say. Can we have a bonus tier for Morbius, but the tier is just called Morbius? Well, it's not in our cinematic universe strictly, though, is it? Morbius, is it?
It's in the SSU.
The now defunct SSU.
Yeah, that's Judy Hops. And then we have Hemorrhoid Hurts for Australian $2. Aquaman is tier below cinematic sewerage, but again, that's a DC property, though. And then we have Catherine, member for 2 months. Don't have anything interesting to say, so hiya. Well, Catherine, we appreciate you having here for no other reason than the fact that we always like to see females in the chat. Kind of, it's always good. Darth Bobcat for $5. He was telling it to Bruce Banner, and he slept through it. What's that a reference to? It's too obscure for me.
Maybe Hulk, I'm not sure.
And he
I
slept
can't
through
remember.
it. Yeah. Superbus Steradub, cool name for Australian $10. Yahoo! Have you seen 7 Periods with Mr. Gormsby? If not, you must, because it is the best New Zealand comedy, maybe show I've ever seen. David McPhail is perfect in it. Yeko. Yeah, I remember that show. I remember it coming out at the same time as Letters to Blanche, and it's a kind of late career entry for David McPhail. Yeah, I need to revisit that. See, have a little go at it. Thanks for reminding me. Tailspin21, Wrenched. Tailspin21 became a YouTube member. Well, welcome. Lone Star for 10 poons. It's all downhill from here. Despot. Here's a tenner towards your meds. Cheers. Yeah, this probably came around the Endgame, I imagine. Thank you, Lone Star. Mike Hunt for Australia, $2. Why come Thanos no just make double the resources?
That's a very good question.
The argument that I've seen is that the same thing would happen and that people would just squander them and wealth inequality and blah, blah, blah. So Thanos knew that and that's why he didn't do it.
Do you know what Thanos' problem is? He has a zero-sum understanding of economics. This was the same theory of economics that the Nazis had, actually. It's quite interesting. What he needs to do is read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, and then that will fix the problems. That's what the Avengers should have done, just given him a copy of that book and said, here, Thanos, read this, and then he wouldn't have had to do the snap.
Wait, was that what the Thomas Sowell Stone?
The what?
The Thomas Sowell Stone.
Yeah.
It goes in the Infinity Gauntlet.
I'm just picturing you in the film in that the landscape where Thanos is rampaging and you going up to him. You know what your problem is? You don't understand the economics of the thing.
If you would create more surplus, we'd have lower prices.
Yeah. Hemorrhoid Hurts again, wrenched for Australian $2. Eternals like doing butterfly in an ocean of shit. Yeah, pretty much. That film is disgusting.
I don't know what that means.
That's poetry. He's a poet, obviously.
Is that a Skibbity reference? I don't know.
Oh, the butterfly, the swimming, like the butterfly stroke.
Oh, I get it.
Oh, I literally was thinking like the butterfly, the insect, that it's a one tiny little mote of beauty and nature in the world.
I think just trying to watch it in the general pacing of it, that's quite a good analogy. Just like trying to swim the butterfly.
Doing butterfly, yeah.
It's just, it is unwatchable.
Yeah, I thought he was just typing real quickly in his phone and he was trying to get the idea that there's like one butterfly. But no, I understand now. Dark Knight of Death, 1999. Multiverse of Madness sucked salty, vinegary post-gym balls. That's a callback to one of my greatest lines.
I'm going to disagree with this. I think it sucked salty, vinegary, post-gym, homeless, AIDS-infested balls.
I'm really touched that someone would do deep lore in my channel to remember one of my king lines. I appreciate that.
Honestly, the book from Wakanda should read Soul because he's got a whole analogy about why Africa is so fucked geographically. If they just read that, they'd be good to go and they would help everybody else out.
Hemorrhoid Hurts again for a wrenched for $2 Australian. I'm like foie gras duck being pumped with MCU shit. That's another strange analogy. Man, but
Is that
it's
a
all
rap- like a
scatological.
rap lyric?
I don't know.
It's a lot of
It's
poop.
scatological.
You philiac, okay?
Happy 30th. Yeah, the channel is bidding goodbye to its 20s now. I feel, it's on the outer edge of youth, our channel. So there we go. James Bronte for $30. I appreciate that, James. That's a wonderful contribution. Bass player 2011 Iffy again, $5. I like Deadpool, but the one and only reason he should be in the MCU is if they are adapting Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. Yeah, it was all very complicated and kind of in-jokey in a way that I didn't find funny at all, with the big Sony logo in the background. It's all a bit, circle jerk.
Yeah, I was about as funny as a boot in the balls.
John, what's that, Canadian? 279? Rejoice, streaming has finally died. Has it? I guess, like for Wheel of Time it has. And then Cosmo, Canadian $5. Avengers Endgame had one cool and memorable scene. Cap picking up Thor's hammer. How do you pronounce it again?
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir,
My
yeah.
movie
Mjolnir.
theater went crazy at that moment. Yeah, that must have been exciting for everyone.
That is a fucking awesome moment, though.
Okay. And that just about wraps it up. So we did it, team. We went we tried something different. And I want to thank again all the Despotinians who have crowded in here. It's been lovely to see you. And that just about brings us to the end. Greg, what can you tell the folks? What's new? What's up? What's coming? Oh, he muted himself again. That's twice in one stream.
Oh, I shouldn't drink during streaming. I've got a fundraiser that I'm still doing. We're about to cross $4,000 actually.
Oh,
for
that's
this
great.
fundraiser for May, and so the last 3 videos are about that. If you want to help keep kids out of foster care, and then as far as me, I'll be emceeing a 5K for that organization also later in June. Not running. I don't run. That's not me. I'm just going to speak. That's what I do. But then maybe later this week or early next week, I'll be having a victory lap gloating sesh about Wheel of Time and how it just doesn't understand people. Rafe Judkins does not understand people or what they want or what they feel, and that's why his show sucked, and that's why it got canceled, and he deserved it, and fuck him.
Fuck them.
Look forward to that.
Despot, what can you tell the folks?
Well, first of all, if anybody wants to donate any of my subjects, want to donate to Greg's foster care month, I think a lot of the money that his channel's making this month is going to foster care. And, Greg's the real deal. He's a foster father. He's done foster care, so he believes in it, and he's chosen this charity specifically because it's a good charity. It's not one of those bullshit corporate charities where it's 80% goes to the salaries of the people involved. So yeah, head over to Greg's channel and donate some money to foster kids and foster families. My next video is going to be titled "When Netflix Made Groundhog Day but with Racism." It's about a short film, an Oscar-winning short film I found on Netflix about a black man who gets killed by racist cops every day, no matter what he does, and he has to keep reliving the same day again and again. And it's so bad that I had to make a video on it. It's such a great find. I feel like an archaeologist who's just discovered something amazing and has to share it with the world.
That sounds like exactly the kind of short film that would win an Oscar.
Yeah, it is.
And Random, showing all the Brits what a real man is, staying up into the wee hours because you're built like that. You're built different. What can you tell the folks?
Well, once we're done, very shortly, I'm going to be continuing work editing my next video, which is The Last of Us Season 2 is not very good because it's really not good. And the unfortunate side effect of that is that I had to play the game, which is also not good.
Greg, I finally ran into The Last of Us 2. What do you call them? Cockman stands?
Oh God!
Truckman stands.
The people that tell you you don't understand it and you're just not
Truckman
deep
stands
enough.
have been on my last video,
To
and they have been
narrative.
ravaging me in the comments. Like I
Oh my
finally
God.
found them. They found my channel. I don't know how, but they found me.
What's amazing is they'll never explain to you why the show is good or the game is good. They'll just tell you that you don't get it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Man, I wish I had enemies. I'm so jealous of you guys. It must be great to have enemies.
Oh.
So that's about it. So it just remains for me to thank the incredible panel. We made it through. And so rather than just leave us gazing at the camera, I'll just leave you with reflections that I've culled.
Don't forget to do the
From-
reflections with Debussy.
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck Debussy. I better be
Oh,
hearing some
Eddie.
Schoenberg here.
Get that Debussy.
Echo.
Schoenberg? I don't think so. Well, maybe like we'll compromise with some Chopin or something. I don't know. Okay.
That would be
Anyway,
acceptable, I suppose.
Kakitio Ano, and we'll see you guys next time.